Today, we're going to be talking about some of the most stressful FNAF fan games I've ever experienced. From relentless nights to games that constantly overwhelm you with threats and barely give you a second to recover, these projects know how to put players under serious pressure. Some of these had me completely exhausted by the time I finally survived, so let's get into them. Insanity is a broad term with different meanings depending on the context, generally referring to a severely disordered state of mind, extreme folly, or a legal designation. It is not an official clinical or psychiatric diagnosis, but rather a catch-all for various forms of profound mental derangement. Truly, insanity is one of the most interesting things that human beings can face, and the various causes of it are truly fascinating to read about. Five Nights at Freddy's games often use the subject matter of insanity, but I don't feel like many of them can ever really do it right. The game we'll be covering today is a little different, that game being Crawl Space Insanity Remastered, one of the newest, coolest, and most challenging FNAF fan games the community has ever seen. We're going to be diving into every single corner of this game's mechanics, storyline, and piecing together everything you need to know. So join me today as we dive into the long-awaited video of Crawl Space Insanity Remastered. All right. I'm not at all ready to start talking about this game. As I'm writing this part of the script, it is currently 6:34 p.m. May 28th of 2026. Throughout this video, I will update you on the progress so you can get a small window of understanding of how much this game has destroyed me. The game opens to a nice prelude, and already I'm upset as this brings up a pet peeve I notice in a lot of games, not just FNAF. For some reason, the subtitles are on the bottom of the screen during the prelude. While that is totally normal for subtitles, when there's nothing to look at in the middle of the screen and it's just this fucking spiral pattern, then move the subtitles to the middle so that it takes up more dead space. I just really hate how this looks. I know it's a nitpick and it doesn't matter at all. But anyways, the prelude reads as follows.
Hello, Fritz. You have fallen. He got you. The floor beneath you shattered, and you screamed as you barreled towards the bottom of the hole. Did you see them? You could have saved them. I will make sure you never forget that, and you will make sure to stay alive the best you can. That's all you will do, and that's all that needs to be done. That's all. For now, you live in the hole.
So, it appears we play as Fritz in this game. And now is probably the time I should mention the thing everybody already knows about this game, just in case there's one or two people who are living under a rock. Crawl Space is a part of the Insanity Remastered trilogy, which is a retelling of the original Dormitibus story, minus all the disgusting shit. If you want to learn more about that, you can check out my video all about the original Dormitibus after this one. With this, we load into night one and we see that this game looks incredibly fucking boring. Let's start by going over the tools at our disposal though. To start, we have our cameras and our flashlight, which are both tied to a battery. It drains really fast, but if you're not using either of those tools, it will recharge itself. That's really all the tools. The phone guy asks us if we know who we are. Of course, we know that we're playing as Fritz and we're currently in a place known as the Hole. We're told that we have to save them, probably referring to the children, but we obviously have to save ourselves first. So let's quickly take a look at all four threats this first night introduces, because yes, I'm serious, there's actually four threats on this stupid fucking night. I'm going to talk about Bonnie, Chica, and Freddy all at the same time, since I'm not kidding, they all do the exact same thing. Yes, I'm serious. Each of them will try to approach you via the giant hallway in front of you. If they ever appear, just pull your camera up to hide from them until they go away. That's literally it. Foxy is somehow even easier. When you see him in the hallway, just flash your light at him like FNAF 2 and he'll go away. Yep, that's it. This is boring as fuck, but I'm willing to bet that you already know exactly why it's boring as fuck, and if you don't, then get ready for something crazy. Once the night hits 2 a.m., this happens. Yep. That's right. The prelude actually includes a fake night 1 and we're booted to the real title screen. You didn't really think I was about to talk about a game with a loop that boring, did you? I would never do that. All right, let's get into the real nightmare that is this godforsaken game. Jumping into the actual night, there is already a lot to go over, so I'm going to try to break it down as best I can while making it as easy to understand as possible, because there really is a lot to learn here. Let's start by talking about the phone call. Phone guy tells us about Bonnie, who we'll talk about in a second, and flipping. I will mention what flipping means later. This game uses two systems, sanity and stability. Throughout the night, your stability will decrease. You'll notice that your sanity never decreases and actually stays full the entire night. How do you increase your stability? Well, that's where this game introduces flipping. Its central mechanic that is actually so fucking AIDS, it actually made me question whether or not I was actually going to make a video on this. When you flip, it quite literally inverts your entire monitor so that everything is backwards. And yes, that does also include your mouse. This game fucks your entire actual monitor and flips everything around. It's easily the most nauseating and confusing mechanic I've ever dealt with in my entire life. It is fucking brutal. When you flipped, your stability will start to increase again. However, in this flipped version of the whole, your sanity will start to decrease, and vice versa once you flip back to the normal version of the game. This is a super fucking cool mechanic, I can't even lie. Probably one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But of course, as you can imagine, playing in flipped mode is one of the most challenging things you will ever do in your entire life. Now, as much as we could talk about that mechanic, this video is already going to be incredibly long, so let's just move on to talking about the next mechanic, that being the power system. Not much to explain here, honestly. It's just a power system from that prelude night. Using things causes it to decrease, not using it makes it recharge. Pretty simple. Of course, we also have our camera and flashlight to go along with that. The final mechanic to mention before we move on to the threat this night introduces are the vents to the left and right of you, because as you can probably tell, this office setup is pretty much just the FNAF 2 layout for the most part. You can seal these vents to the left and right of you, albeit only one at a time. And the reason you would need to do that is because of the only threat this night introduces, Fallen Bonnie. While yes, Fallen Bonnie is technically the only character introduced on this night, he has children. Why? I have no fucking idea who's cracking this monstrosity. Literally nobody, but whatever. He uses his kids to kill us, which is just a crazy thing to say now that I'm saying it out loud. Bonnie will try to make his way to either camera 4 or 5. These cameras are obviously tied to your vents. Once he enters one of these cameras, he will make the quietest sound cue of all time. But since he's the only threat right now, you can really just watch him. Eventually, he will send one of his kids through the vents he's standing at, and you'll have to quickly seal the vent before the kid turns you into an Arby's meat mountain and ravages your insides. Now, there's no penalty for keeping your vent sealed. No power is drained, and your stability and sanity will not decrease. However, if Bonnie notices a vent is sealed for too long, he'll just hot bottom over to the other vent. So the strategy for this night is really just watching him and sealing the vent when you need to. You may be wondering where flipping actually becomes needed, and I'll explain that more a bit later. But for now, sometimes your screen will glitch out, and when it does, you'll have to flip to fix it. I'd flip every time you have to seal a vent to really help you get used to it, since if you want to complete this game fully, you'll have to be doing it a lot. But with that, night 1 comes to an end, and we can move on to the first post-night minigame, which starts with the text, "You won't like what's out there." And if what's out there is Blackout, then you'd be completely correct. I don't like him very much at all, actually. Before the minigame begins, we see what appears to be Cake Bear. I couldn't imagine who else this would be. Moving to the right, we see the text, "Not yet," and then the minigame begins by telling us that we need to hold our breath to face death. Just then, we're thrown into a fucking crawl space. Get it? Like the name of the fucking game? Isn't that so fucking cool? Laugh, bitch! Laugh! Anyways, during this minigame, we have to control our breathing and our blinking for some reason. Maybe we're trapped in a spring lock suit or something like that. I'm not really sure. You can breathe by holding space and blink by holding control. Obviously, we need to keep these bars up all the way. Throughout the entire minigame, you'll be able to hear two people having a conversation. Barely. You will barely be able to hear two people having a conversation. I can't lie. It is really fucking hard to hear, and I actually have no idea what they're talking about. If you guys want to tell me, please do. too, because I do not have it in me to decipher the several minutes of muffled audio during these minigames. Of course, there is also a threat to defend ourselves against during this minigame, that being Angel Bonnie. He is incredibly easy to deal with. Occasionally, he will appear on your left side, and all you have to do is hold your breath, and he'll go away. Easy as fuck. Once you beat the minigame, you get the phrase, "back to sleep now," which tells me that the night sections are maybe dreams or nightmares, and then the crawl space is actually when Fritz is awake. Meaning that we're playing as a man trapped inside of a suit, stuffed into a crawl space, which is some of the most fucked up stuff you could ever imagine, and I love it. And by the way, I'm pretty sure that this is in reference to probably Fritz seeing the deaths of the children, not doing anything about it, and then William stuffing him in a suit and putting him in a crawl space like a fucking telltale heart type thing. Which, that's fucking badass. That's badass as shit, I can't lie. Anyways, moving on to night 2, and for a small update, it is currently 7:13 p.m. Night 2 introduces 2 new threats, and along with it, 2 new mechanics. As if this game and its flipping wasn't already stressful enough. The phone guy really just tells us that we're one step closer to our goal. That's about it. The 2 new mechanics are our alarms and our flash beacon. Most of the cameras have alarms. You can just hold the alarm button to make them blare. And on specifically camera 5, we have a flash beacon. We'll go over why we need them in just a second. The 2 threats introduced on this night are Fallen Chica and Fallen Foxy, each of them using one of the new mechanics on this night. Let's start with Fallen Chica. Chica moves around randomly in the cameras and will at random points stop moving to sing. When she starts singing, you have to find her on the cameras. Yes, I know, it's fucking torture all of the time for me in these games. Then sound the alarm on whichever camera she's on. She can actually only attack cameras 1, 3B, 3C, and 6. So there's not a whole lot of cameras you'll have to check, which is why I'm choosing not to complain about it too much. She's not a very complicated character, but when you're playing with your entire monitor reversed, it's really fucking hard to click anything at all. Moving on to Fallen Foxy. Foxy will try to attack you via camera 5. Once he gets there, all you have to do is use the flash beacon and he'll go away. Something you'll notice about all of the characters in this game is that they're all not too difficult. It really and truly is just the flipping mechanic that makes this game so fucking hard. Something to note about camera 5 is that both Foxy and Bonnie can't be present at the same time. So lucky us, if we see Bonnie there, then we know Foxy will never attack us until Bonnie leaves. Really, the best strategy I can give for night 2 is to flip at 1 a.m. and stay flipped until you hear Chica sing. Once she does, you'll have just enough time to unflip and deal with her, then rebalance your flips for the rest of the night. This makes it so that you don't have to do most of the work while flipped, since Chica is definitely the worst to deal with while you are because of how many clicks she requires. But with that, we get the same minigame as before with Cake Bear, and then we go into the crawl space again. This time around, Angel Chica will be added. She's pretty much the same as Bonnie, except she appears on your right, and when she does, just close your eyes until she leaves. Once again, we hear people talking a bunch, except I can't figure out what the hell they're even saying, so let's just move on to night 3. Night 3 is where this game really starts to piss me off. I'm not even lying, it makes me so fucking angry. The only reason is because one of the threats this night introduces, that being Fallen Freddy, the most confusing and annoying character ever conceived by mankind. Fallen Freddy will try to attack your generators in camera 7 and 4. We obviously cannot allow this to happen or he's gonna stick 8 pencils in my ass, which I really don't want. Once he enters one of those cameras, an alarm sound will play. When you open the cameras, you'll see a wire task from Among Us. I'm completely serious, but you shouldn't do the puzzle right away. No. Instead, what you need to do is find Freddy on either camera 7 or 4, then check to see if he's wearing his top hat. If he is wearing it, then you need to complete the task. However, if he isn't wearing his hat, then you need to complete the task incorrectly. I'm not fucking joking. What the hell kind of mechanic is that? That's like the most retarded shit I've ever heard of in my entire life. Now, Fallen Freddy is really annoying, but he's somehow nowhere near as annoying as someone else will be talking about in a little bit. Because this night also introduces another new threat, that being Fallen Puppet. Fallen Puppet will randomly show up inside of your office. When he does, you'll need to quickly waste all of your power. The fastest way to do this is by using your flash beacon, since it empties it immediately. So overall, it's really easy to deal with. However, as you could imagine, you don't really want to be wasting all of your power. And that's because of what I'm about to tell you. Because we're about to talk about how this game really rapes your ass. Night 3 upgrades each character we've seen so far from the first 2 nights and just makes them way fucking worse. So let's start with the The least terrible, Fallen Chica. All Night 3 adds to her is giving her the ability to also go to cameras 4 and 5, which makes her way worse because she is just a finder on the camera character. So more cameras equals less fun for Dexter. Fallen Foxy gets the additional attack ability of turning into Withered Foxy, just jumping ass naked into your hallway and flashing his cock to you like the Fent Walker I saw in the park the other day. Just flash your flashlight at him and he'll go away. But now we can move on to literally the worst thing you've ever seen in your entire life. Fallen Bonnie and his stupid fucking kids. For some reason, they also give Bonnie the ability to turn into Withered Foxy. However, he doesn't require you to flash your light at him. You'll never in a million fucking years guess what you have to do to stop him. Here, I'll even give you a multiple choice. When Fallen Foxy enters your hallway, do you have to A, hold your flashlight on him until you run out of power, then wait for the power to turn back on and then flip? B, flip the screen and turn the desk fan off? C, use the alarm on camera 4 or 5 to drag him there and then deal with him normally? Or D, find all 3 of his children that randomly appear on the cameras before he rails you? If you said D, then congrats, you picked the option that would have made me quit the game. No, thank God it's not that. But for anybody who said B, flip the screen and then turn off the desk fan, you'd be completely right because that's actually what you have to do. Why the fuck does this make him go away? I have no idea, but this is the most frustrating thing to do during this game, and I fucking hate it with all my soul. The strategy for this night is really tough, I can't lie. Really only flip when necessary or after you deal with Bonnie and the vent attack. Most threats aren't too terrible to deal with flipped, in all honesty, and you should be getting used to it at least a little bit at this point. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention Chica. She can appear on the same camera at the same time as the other characters, and if she does, most of the time you'll just lose. I can't even lie. It's really hard to deal with 2 characters at a time. However, I would recommend dealing with Chica first since most times she'll end up being the bigger problem. Oh yeah, and don't forget that Freddy and the puppet were added on this night. I know you've probably forgotten about that after the 3 other character upgrades, but yes, 2 more threats were introduced this time. Just fucking kill me. I'll also mention here 2 death minigames I stumbled across. I don't know how many there are, but here are 2 I got. Basically, one of them has Fritz finding William stuffing the kids in the suits, and then William puts Fritz in a suit as well. No witnesses type shit. And that confirms my theory that that is why we are present in the crawl space. The other minigame is just a cutscene. It's a conversation between Fritz and another guy named Peter. Peter tells Fritz about the kids and that if he knows anything about it or learns anything to let him know. Hate to break it to you, buddy, but judging by the other minigame we just saw, I'm willing to bet that Fritz isn't going to be able to tell you shit. The post-night 3 crawl space section is much the same as the others, except this time you will also get to see Angel Foxy. His mechanic is pretty easy. You won't be able to see him, but you will hear him making a clicking sound. When you hear it, just spam blink until he goes away. The only slight problem is that Bonnie and Chica can attack at the same time, but always be sure to make Foxy a priority and you'll be just fine. Once again, I can't fucking hear a word that the 2 guys are saying above us since the animatronics are so loud in my fucking ear. So if anybody wants to give us a summary, I'll pin your comment. Moving on to night 4, it is currently 7:48 p.m. for me, so I think I'm making pretty decent time. But during the phone call, we're told that camera 8 has been fixed. And of course, the new threats on this night will relate to that camera. But first, I want to talk about Fallen Bonnie again. Why do I want to do that? Well, he's been given yet another fucking mechanic for some reason. And the best part is that the phone guy doesn't tell you about it, which is just really cool. It's literally the same as his hallway mechanic, except this time he'll appear directly in front of you, which I will admit did scare the shit out of me the first time I saw it. Anyways, on to the new threats this night introduces, because yes, even though this game has already turned into a clusterfuck, it is adding even more to our plate. And the first to talk about is Fallen Spring Bonnie. Spring Bonnie is pretty easy. Probably the easiest character in the entire game. He is who is in camera 8, and throughout the night, he's just gonna try to stand up. If he does, then it's GG and you fucking lose. So sound the alarm on his camera and he'll sit back down. Pretty much he's just a music box, because of course this game had to add one of those. Now let's move on to probably the worst character on Earth, who was just behind Bonnie, in my opinion, Fallen Fredbear. Because the DeviantArt names haven't gotten cringe enough yet. Fredbear wants to attack you through your hall, and he's really good at it. Because unlike every other character in this game, Fredbear makes no sound cues ever, which is actually the worst thing on the planet. Once he's in your hallway, all you have to do is turn your fan off. Thankfully, this time you don't also have to flip. I really don't know why Bonnie has you do that, but what really makes Fredbear bad is the synergies he has, because not only can Bonnie and Fredbear be in the hall at the same time, but Bonnie and Foxy can be in the hall at the same time, and fuck it, I'm not kidding at all 3 of them can be in the hallway at the same time. This is actually just the worst shit anybody could ever create. This game is so fucking hard, it's not even funny. What the fuck am I even supposed to do about this bullshit? The strategy for this night is ass cheeks, I can't even lie. Really only flip your screen for Bonnie and when the screen flickers. Fuck everything else. Keep your camera on 5 to check for Foxy, and never leave a vent sealed after dealing with Bonnie. Whenever you deal with a camera threat, either Freddy, Bonnie, Foxy, or Chica, check your hallway and deal with whatever the fuck is there. Then check on Spring Bonnie and hope you weren't too slow, and repeat. This night is so fucking AIDS, it's really hard to put into words. And we still have another night to talk about. Look at the length of this video. We're not even close to being done yet. During the crawl space section, we get introduced to Angel Freddy. All he does is appear in front of us, and all you have to do is lift your hands off your keyboard and mouse until he goes away. Basic strategy here is always deal with Foxy first no matter what. Then deal with Freddy, then deal with Bonnie and Chica. Crawl space sections are pretty simple. There's not much to talk about, so let's just move on to night 5. Night 5 is literally just fucking chaos. All of the characters' AI are turned up to the fucking moon. I spent so much time on this night, it's not even funny. Probably one of the most challenging nights I've ever completed from any FNAF game ever, and I'm not even lying. But once we reach 4 a.m. is where this night gets interesting. At 4 a.m. a new threat appears and all of the other characters deactivate. This threat is Yellow Bear, and let's just say he wants that juicy booty badly. Once he spawns, he'll choose to start at any camera he wants and slowly make his way to your hallway. You can stall him on the cameras by using your alarm, but he'll never move backwards. But you honestly don't even need to do that, because once he's in your hallway, you can just stall him for the rest of the night by spamming the lights, so he's honestly really easy. The general strategy for this night has you start by focusing on cameras 8, 4, and 5, because Bonnie and Spring Bonnie will almost always attack you first. After dealing with them, check the hallway and camera 5 for Foxy every time you deal with Chica. Only ever check Spring Bonnie after the first time when you have a small bit of downtime, since he has to make it through 5 different phases before he kills you anyways. This night is really fucking hard until 4 a.m. and playing it for yourself would be the best way to understand it, because I quite literally do not have the vocabulary to explain to you how hard it really is. The minigame for this night is weird. There's no crawl space, but we do get the Cake Bear minigame, and this time we're a much more realistic version of Cake Bear. We walk to the right for a very long time and stumble across a withered Cake Bear, I think. I have no idea what this is, and we get the following cutscene.
I'm glad you came all this way to see me, Rats. I'd thought you'd forgotten about me. I think you realize I'm not truly your friend, but I have no reason to lie anymore. I never did. It's out of control. Things used to be so much simpler. I never had to lie. I could just exist. Now look at what I've gone and done. Inviting her and trusting her to respect what I've wanted, what I've already done. If they're a human being, a human conscience, they can never be truly trusted. I guess you already understand that. After what that man did to you, you were destined to die for so long. We've been destined to die. We were all just waiting for it. We weren't even excited. We weren't scared. We just, no, aren't you tired of this? Hasn't it gotten old? It feels like it's been an eternity. We are worn. How much longer are we going to be pushed around? Fall back onto monotony. It's better than piling on to this abomination and seeing that it crashes. Return to your old life. Kill the story. Escape.
Now, while that was weird, what we're about to see gets even fucking weirder. After completing the game, if you click load game, you'll see the words free yourself, and you'll be brought to a Pong minigame where you have to defend a fan from a bunch of whatever the fuck. I have no idea what I'm doing right now. This reminds me of the random Undertale fight from Midnight at Star Stage. After you complete this minigame, we move on to truly the most insane shit of all fucking time. So let's start by saying that this game has 3 endings. What we just saw was the first ending, and now we're going to talk about the last 2. And if you look at the length of this video, you'll be able to tell that we're still going to be here a while. It is currently 8:30 p.m. for me while scripting, so let's lock in. Right here starts the boss fight against the Star, and it's split up into 3 different acts. So let's start with Act 1, which has us inside of the crawl space, and the only threat is obviously the Star itself, and it has 2 forms of attack. The first has him appear on either our left or right side. You will have to spam click on his nose to make him go away. Before, I could argue that the retarded mechanics in this game were because I thought the night sections were nightmares, so it didn't have to make sense, but I'm pretty certain we're completely conscious during these crawl space sections, so I have no defense for why this makes any sense, because it really just fucking doesn't. His second attack will have him say 4 random numbers. You just have to type those numbers on your keyboard for some reason, and that'll make him go away. Alright, now this really just makes no sense, because what could our character even be doing that would have anything to do with the number pad? Fuck it, whatever. Let's just move on to Act 2. Act 2 has more than just the Star boss, and something really weird about this act is that one of the other threats actually calls you and tells you how to deal with himself and the other characters, which I just found super weird. In Act 2, we move from the crawl space to another area called the Deep Zero. There are 3 threats to deal with, and thankfully they're all pretty simple. We have 2 important tools to talk about: the flashlight, which is obvious, and the top panel. Inside of the top panel, we can use a kill switch and something called revitalize, which I'm honestly not too sure the meaning of. The kill switch just cuts the power for a little bit, essentially what you do with the puppet in the main nights. Revitalization fixes distortion when your screen is flipped, because yes, that's still a central mechanic at this point of the game. Silly me, I thought I would have escaped it by now, but I guess God just hates me. Let's start by talking about the threats this act introduces. Starting with Insanity, who is the guy that called us. This guy is literally just the Wither from Minecraft, and yes, he does have an actual human skull, which I do think is pretty cool, I can't even lie. Insanity appears in your left hall with a sound cue, and he himself will never kill you. However, he will disorient you really badly. If you just use the kill switch, then he'll piss off. No real problem here. Again, the characters in this act aren't that bad. Prelude is the next threat, and I really don't know why they gave him that name. It's literally just Freddy. He moves through the cameras with a sound cue to your hallway. You will have to make sure you never look at him on the cameras. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, just don't look at him. Once he gets to your hallway, just use the kill switch, and it's easy. The Star is obviously the final threat in this act, and he has 2 ways to attack you. He will stay on camera 10 for the entire night. His first attack has him appear in your office, working in your face. All you have to do is hit the kill switch, and it'll go away. The second attack has him yell a random number for some reason, and then you'll have to go to that number's camera and stare at him. If you click the wrong camera, you die immediately, so you can't just spam through the cameras until you find him. You need to make sure you're listening, and you do this until 4 a.m. Again, this part is really easy, as all of the characters aren't challenging at all. At 4 a.m., you'll be transported to the main office area from the main nights, except, as you can probably tell, it's distorted as fuck. You get a phone call saying that this will be the last place you'll go until you finally win. He tells you how to deal with him, and Act 3 finally begins. Act 3 is easily the hardest act by far, mainly because the other 2 were super easy. This is also the act that will decide which of the 2 possible endings you will get. Let's get the basics out of the way. The Star has 3 ways to attack you, so let's start by talking about the easiest one. He'll move to camera 4. Once there, you'll need to close the vent as fast as possible, because the Star is fast as holy hell. His next attack has him go to camera 5. Once again, close the vent, but you'll also have to flash him a few times to make him go away. And finally, his third attack will have him scream like an autistic kid in Target when he sees that Pokemon have been restocked and that the scalpers haven't gotten to them yet. When this happens, he just turns into an ice slut. He will randomly move around the cameras, and you'll have to hold the alarm on whichever camera he's on until he stops fucking screaming in my ears minus the S. But of course, this attack is really shitty for one reason. He teleports to a random camera when he screams, so that sucks. But the worst part is that he can move while you're using the alarm, and he doesn't just move to an adjacent camera. No. He teleports to any fucking camera he damn well pleases. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm so sick of these bullshit ass, fuck ass mechanics. Please just kill me already. I could get really mad and scream about this for the next 10 minutes, but I'm gonna be the bigger person and choose not to. Once you complete this final act, you will get the option to either lose your sanity or lose your stability, and whichever you choose will determine your ending. If you choose to lose your sanity, people reveal the crawl space and find Fritz inside of the Cake Bear suit. Fritz hears people talking faintly while he's in a coma-like state. He is then put into a mental institution and the credits roll. I suppose that makes sense. We did choose to lose all of our sanity after all, so the loony bin is probably the best place for us to go. I do think that the reveal that we've been in the Cake Bear suit the whole time is really, really cool, as this game basically just goes to explain where this very important character actually comes from. This is, in my opinion, a perfect example of show don't tell when it comes to storytelling, and I love to see it. However, if you choose to instead lose your stability, Fritz just gets fucking spring locked and dies inside of the Cake Bear suit. We're told that there may still be a chance to find out who the real killer is. We chase after this killer only to find the one, the only Garvey, who is obviously the one who killed the kids in this game. And thankfully, in this retelling, he didn't rape one of them for no reason at all. A spirit talks to us and is for some reason happy that we're dead. Pretty morbid, I won't lie. Since the deep isn't real, it is infinite and the mind. I have no idea what that means. I hate FNAF lore. It's so goddamn confusing. Someone please translate. It's like what I'm seeing is Japanese or something. I really have no idea. The spirit asks us how much deeper we want to go, and then we get to see the deep 1 as opposed to the deep 0 we saw in Act 2 of the Star boss fight. In all honesty, this was just a super brief overview of both of these endings. They both have interesting minigames attached to them with some pretty cool scenes, like some does bad things guy type scene with Garvey and a bunch of dead kids. It's honestly really cool to see, and I think this game does such a good job at telling the story. Much better than the stupid fucking theater thing from Dormitibus, which just didn't feel like it fit the game at all. And apparently, both of these endings happened at the same time, getting found in the Cake Bear suit and ending up in Deep 1. It's really cool to see, even though I don't fully understand how any of it makes any sense at all. Now, of course, there are still plenty of other death minigames to talk about, so let's go ahead and get those out of the way. The first is called Missing Persons. In it, we play as a random security guard. Our task is to sneak around the pizzeria to gather information about the kids going missing. We talk to some dude named Colin and another guy named Kane and Anthony and also Peter again. There's a lot of shit going on. Just a lot of us asking questions about the missing kids. They also mentioned something about CCTV footage that we could take a look at for evidence. Eventually, there's a jump cut to a man named Mr. Jimenez with Peter. He's pissed off because his kid has been missing for 2 days, but in all honesty, I kind of call that a win. I hate kids. In the next minigame called Material Witness, we're tasked with getting the CCTV footage I mentioned earlier. As we make our way to the office, we can enter the top left side of the party room and see Shadow Freddy, which is pretty cool, I guess. Once we enter the office, we meet with Garvey. We talk to him about the missing kids, and Jeremy tells Garvey that he shouldn't hang around the back room since it's secluded and people might start suspecting him of the murder since he's the quiet type, which is very unfortunate since we all know Garvey is the one who did it. They mention how Fritz is currently the prime suspect, and that's really about it. This conversation drags on for so fucking long. I was going to get some actors to dub these minigames, but holy shit, they're so long and fucking boring. You can also pick up a key in this minigame. If you go to the office, but take a right before entering it and go into one of the party rooms, you can walk through the wall. Go down and all the way to the left and then all the way up, you will see a room with a key. We'll talk more about the keys later. The next minigame I want to talk about is called Cake Bear's Last Performance. It takes place in 1982. In it, we're around a few other people. One by the name of Alex and the other isn't named. They're talking about drinking and smoking, so you know these guys are cool. The unnamed character mentions a guy named Tom who also smokes outside, but when we go to check on him, we see something floating in the air. I have no idea what it is though. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Then the minigame ends. We can also get another key in this minigame. If we talk to the kid in the left room, then go right all the way to the wall, we can run into it until we glitch through it. Walk to the far right far enough and we find a rope with a key on it. Hooray! I love FNAF secrets. They're so cool and totally not the most annoying things of all time. The next minigame is called Corporate Ladder. We're tasked with going to Peter's office. This scene shows Trevor checking in around the building after Fritz's disappearance and the recent murders, while the company atmosphere is clearly falling apart. Kyle is trying to convince Colin that Natalie wasn't simply lost, but taken. Colin dismisses him, but Trevor steps in to remove Kyle, but Kyle storms off on his own. This is confusing, guys. I'm sorry. Trevor then talks with Garvey and John. Garvey's wearing shades like Fritz, saying it might lighten the mood since the kids miss Fritz so much. The conversation makes it clear Fritz was beloved, especially by the children. Garvey also mentions Peter has him working a double shift. Trevor then goes to Peter's office. Peter is on the phone with Mrs. Smith about someone missing and seems overwhelmed, frustrated, and defensive. After he hangs up, he snaps at Trevor, then apologizes. Peter admits he's struggling with the fallout of a quintuple homicide, the investigation, his family, and John's situation. Trevor confronts him, then brings up employee concerns about the animatronics being hostile. Peter initially dismisses it, blaming unreliable employees like Jeremy and Kane, but Trevor insists something feels wrong, especially with the tense police presence and the animatronics staring at everyone. Peter agrees to inspect them the next day, assuming it is just an optics or movement bug. Holy shit, that minigame was long as fuck. All of these minigames are. If you were to play all of the death minigames in order and actually read all of the text, it would probably take you a solid 45 minutes to get through all of it. It's actually some of the most lore-heavy shit I've ever sat through in my life, and it felt like a fucking chore. I can't even lie. I'm not having fun writing this part at all. The next minigame is called Give Gifts of Light, and holy shit, this is the longest one yet. I want to die. The puppet gives the murdered children masks and gifts, which leads to them becoming the boa, or the box of abominations. After that, Peter checks in with Jeremy about the toy animatronics. Jeremy is uneasy around one of them and asks why they don't just move it to the back, but Peter refuses because of how much money was spent on it and because investors are already putting pressure on him. Peter says the main three animatronics' eyes are malfunctioning, so he needs to get parts from the older animatronics. Peter, Trevor, and Kane head into parts and service. Kane brings up suspicion that Colin may have known more than they thought, but Peter insists Colin is likely guilty because he stole money and disappeared. Peter even says that if Colin is blamed, it might be good for them because the cops could leave. Once they enter the back room, they notice a disgusting smell. Kane says it smells like bleach and rotten pennies, not normal wastewater. While searching the old animatronic heads for ocular motors, Kane discovers blood on one of the suits, then realizes there's a body inside. Trevor finds another body too, making it clear the missing children are hidden inside of the old animatronics. Kane immediately wants to call the cops, but Peter refuses, realizing that if the public finds out, the company and their careers are finished. He pressures Kane by pointing out that Kane was responsible for maintenance checks and could be blamed for failing to find the bodies sooner. Trevor then offers a darker solution. He knows a guy who can make the problem go away. The scene ends with Peter deciding to cover everything up. Kane is terrified and wants no part in it, but Trevor tells him all he has to do is walk away and stay silent. Kane agrees in exchange for his tuition being paid and his name being kept out of it. Peter agrees as long as Kane makes sure Anthony and Jeremy never find out. Trevor then warns him he saw nothing, he heard nothing, and knows nothing. And there's only one minigame left to talk about called Loose Ends. Who gives a fuck about what the people are saying? The cool part is that Jeremy gets the Bite of 87 special. Hooray! I'm finally done talking about these fucking minigames. There's still one more thing I want to mention, however, and that is the diary. After completing night 5 for the first time, we unlock it. It's incredibly long, but I guess I'll actually read this one to you. Editor, put a mix of Subway Surfers, GTA cars falling down shit, and some other bullshit that's fun to watch in a compilation on the side of the screen while I read this.
Yes, I may answer if you tap the glass. School will be missed, and its many exploits or stunts. From plenty of people other than myself, having a hand in so many things, call it calculated immaturity, has let me write about it here. So I'm leaving high school with many stories, and I see this as important. I don't remember any cases where staff actually let themselves believe I had done what I'd done, despite being clearly told, so it must be true that I'm naturally sweet, believable, and appealing. I'd hope for this not to change. Try hard, I don't know if the competition, or I'd say maybe superiority complex of school can really exist as well in the following life. This is okay. Of course, F have been ready for a long time to move ahead from this and do worthwhile things. Brandon and I are still happily friends. He's the type to be friends with almost anyone, of course. With so many large meetings, even parties, at his house I found often attended with Greg, Patricia, Anderson, and the likes. So, of course, we will all meet for graduation. June 1st.
1955. Yes, I may answer if you tap the glass. I have delayed the writing of the note for some time due to all my time spent with a certain young man, possibly described as a lonely, pathetic, bumbling, wannabe greaseball, desperately failing maturity, never quite let into the gatherings, but watching prom afar. Usually watching me. He's 16, 2 years younger than me. He's only around because he's Brandon's younger brother, Alex White. I think there is a spark of genius in this young man that I would do good to blossom with, though, if anything. I would even say this is obvious to me. Just because someone is different from how they naturally appear doesn't mean they're intentionally lying. Everyone does it. It's normal. Follow me. I'm a friendly rabbit. June 1st, 1955. Mex drowns. There is truth to it. I'm trying to gauge and measure. There's also the fact that engineering is ridiculous and doesn't make sense. I'm half joking, of course, although I do obviously question physics, nature. So is he literally spraying himself with maturity? What brilliant symbolism. But no, seriously, it was all that they had for some reason. This is oddly hyper-specific, but he's like the type of person that wouldn't go through the effort or pain or severing their arm to save a child. But you know, I sure feel bad about it for the rest of their life, and overcompensate by sculpting hundreds of fake arms. Actually, well, I guess we wouldn't know, unless somehow that scenario really did play out. Last night we were sitting by the creek. I wanted to relax after I attended the ceremony. I was lost in thought. Who was left? He realized a deep sadness was forming in his eyes, so he moved his head completely to the right, causing the back of his head to face me. He tries to hide his weakness from me. From all women. From anyone. But I haven't seen it. And I remember his face. I study his sadness from the traces, and I look past his skull. Luna 17th. 193 question mark. Come asylum. Unbelievable. I must state this in here right now. I will never stand for this. I know that people who'd ever talk about themselves or question anything would tell me my disconnected world vein, my disconnect from humanity, stems from a discontent for my own life, a mental condition that impedes me from connecting to people, a simple sickness or defect, a fault. Sam above deep or nuanced human connection because I have been past humanity. I cannot, because if I existed in places these other people have never even dreamed of. I was born a higher being and I will give everything to myself. I know people would say this to me because I've seen it on my own, as I have seen everything. My mind is not human. Oh, was born in a human body. I can exist under this facade for as long as I swant. It is control. It is not hard to smile, no feelings. Feelings are an idea that can be bent at will if you are not content to mindlessly lie to yourself. If I want not to love someone, I will not love them. Oh me. There is no reason it can't be this simple. I will not let anyone lie to me. I will wall in and take everything. I will not waste effort of writing about the incident that happened earlier today that lead me to record this sentiment. Damn Alex. He knows not what he does. He understands not what he says. He has always been a lost soul. They have no obligation to save him. He is unsavable. He will sink into his depression unconvertibly. He will always appreciate that S picked him up and showered him in my influence. Even if there. November 13th, 1963. Come asylum. A day that he may not admit. Think my he, so hell is too close hilarity. He has never been shoved away and forgotten like he acts like he has. I'm not going to reach out to those quacks and charlatans. This notebook is my institution. It is the only place with order where all the words are set in a place for a reason. The only place with true reason. Would they really be willing to lock away someone as pertly, softly spoken, well-spoken as me? Yes, of course. They would love it. Shut me in a room and leave a little peephole in the wall so they could watch the grime build up in the room and let it infect and toil within me and watch my beauty break into pieces, watch all of me fall apart and they'd savor it. My mother warning me of issues of mental commitment when I was young is the last thing she has ever done for me. I've written this bit later. Late tonight, I found Alex sitting at the television watching an investigative report called Suffer the Little Children on NBC. I don't write about it because there's nothing to say that my mom hadn't told me back then, but I've still been watching Ticket at Foiley's this year. I was trying to hide from Alex how much I was studying his face, and thankfully he was entranced and not thinking of me in those moments. There was a lot you could gauge from his face during that time. The secondhand guilt and parental pain is there, yes, but he definitely does not care about those children. He's an apathetic person, especially when it comes to outside situations. November 23rd, 1963. But you know he is thinking of John. He always thinks of John. John is his own. Still, I cannot imagine Alex will have money for John's 5th birthday tomorrow. I obviously know I won't. And holy fucking shit, that's it. That was confusing. It was written exactly how I said it. It's so fucked up. I think I'm done. I think this is officially everything Crawlspace has to offer. Asset dumping. the art of using random art from around the internet as all of your assets in a game, seen with games like Getting Over It, Yandere Simulator, and plenty more. Five Nights at Freddy's games have their fair share of asset dumping as well. Five Nights at Wario's, One Night at Chica's Magic Rainbow, and of course, the very popular One Night at Frogger's. Usually seen as a very lazy way of creating art for your game, mainly because the creator isn't actually creating any art at all, but not all asset dumps are bad, and in its own way, they're an art form themselves, if you can build your environments properly. The game we'll be covering today is an asset dump fan game, and it's honestly become my favorite I've ever played. Today, we'll be talking about Late Shift at Nintendo World, the most stressful FNAF game I've ever played. Strap in, because I promise you, despite what it looks like, there's so much to talk about. So let's drag our balls into Night 1. Night 1, where it all begins, and where you might already become overwhelmed by the amount of possible things this game is about to throw at you. To start, I love the visual style of this game. While yes, it is just the typical asset dump, there are so many references stuffed into this game, it's amazing. And on top of that, the space in each room and camera is filled up so nicely. It's cluttered, but not so much so to the point that my eyes melt out of my skull. Anyways, before we start talking about the whopping 3 threats this night introduces, let's talk about the tools at our disposal, and the locations we can travel to. Locations? What does that mean, Dexter? Well, a location is a place you can go, you fucking moron. The first location is obviously your office. You'll see you have a large hallway in front of you, and of course, your cameras. Your cameras are pretty basic, except for the fact that they're dark as fuck. So we've been equipped with a camera flashlight. The way this flashlight works really makes me want to smother an owl. Every time you use it, only certain cameras will be lit up, since some cameras are outside where the flashlight doesn't reach. The camera light will only stay on for so long before shutting off, and making you wait for a cooldown to be able to turn it on again. Thankfully, the cameras aren't completely pitch black, so my balls get to stay attached to my body for another day. Now, let's talk about the second area you can go to, the outside fence area. Turning around, you'll find a large electric fence. You can tell it's an electric fence because it tells you so, which is very kind. You can hold down a button to charge up the electric fence, and when it charges, the fence will be shocked. Pretty sure that's not how an electric fence works, but to each their own, I suppose. And finally, the last place you can travel is the back shed. The only thing you can do here is hold the door to lock it. While that may seem a bit eerie and intimidating, you'd be right. It really is. But worry not, I'll cover why this place is so important in a little bit. With all of that out of the way, we can talk about the 3 threats this night introduces. Let's start with the main attraction himself, Mario. Mario is disgusting. Literally, look at this model. What the fuck is this thing? Ew. Dude, that thing is fucking nasty. Anyways, now that we're done pointing and laughing at him, what does he do? Mario will work his way to your office through 3 cameras. On each of these cameras, above your light button, you'll notice a music button also appears. If you ever see Mario on one of these cameras, simply press the music button and he will be pushed back 1 camera. Note that he won't be pushed all the way back to his starting camera. So if he travels through multiple cameras, you'll have to follow the cameras pushing him back 1 by 1. Very simple character. As long as you're constantly watching him, which you probably will be, he really shouldn't be an issue. The second threat this night introduces is Mario's taller, skinnier, and much more fuckable brother, Luigi. I'd let his mustache tickle my taint. What? Anyways, Luigi makes use of that spooky little back shed we were talking about earlier. Luigi will appear on camera 9, which connects directly to the hallway in front of your office. You will need to constantly watch camera 9 for when Luigi appears, and once he disappears from camera 9, then you will know he's in your hallway. Something else you'll notice is that you'll never actually see Luigi in your hallway, and there's no camera for the hallway either, and he won't actually appear in the office as well. So you really need to be paying attention. Once you know that Luigi is in your hallway, you will need to hop bottom to the back shed and hold the door locked. Luigi will peer in at you, meaning he was following your big fat juicy bouncing jiggling ass all the way over here. Once Luigi leaves the window of the shed, you're free to go back to the office. Luigi brings up a great synergy with Mario. Both requiring plenty of attention on the cameras really goes to make these two a dangerous combo, and I really don't want to be stuffed by two Italian sausages. I also wouldn't want to eat a sausage anyways. Oh! Oh! Whoa. 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 That's cool. That's cool. I do like that. That is pretty fucking cool. I do like that. This game's gonna get fucking hard, isn't it, dude? The final threat this night introduces is Pikachu. For some fucking reason, but whatever. Pikachu makes use of the big electric fence behind you. Occasionally, Pikachu will be visible behind it, and this is when you'll notice that apparently Pikachu came from fucking Jurassic Park because this fat motherfucker is the size of Jupiter. Of course, once you see Pikachu trying to get a peek at your pecker, see what I did there? All you have to do is charge up the electric fence and give him a taste of his own medicine by shocking him like he does to Ash, and he finally will leave you alone again. I can handle a lot, but I personally think an 18-foot tall Pikachu meat between my buns would be a little too much for me. But if you can manage to learn how all these characters work together, you'll move on to Night 2. Night 2 introduces a plethora of new threats, signaling to me that this may be one of the most challenging FNAF games I will ever play. It's only Night 2, and 2 new threats are added, bringing the total number of threats on Night 2 all the way up to 5. So let's talk about them. The first threat introduced on Night 2 is Kirby. I love Kirby. Kirby would never hurt me. That's a lie. This Kirby certainly would. On both your boiler room camera and back room camera, you will see 2 heat symbols have appeared. Kirby will attempt to get into your office via either of these 2 vents. So hooray! We have 2 more mandatory cameras that require our attention. The way you deal with Kirby is simple. Same as Luigi. When he enters the camera, all is good. But the moment he disappears from the camera means he's about to start rolling through your vent and into your office. When he disappears, hit the heat button to scare Kirby out of the vents. The heat only lasts 1 second, however, so you really need to make sure you time it properly. However, now is the time I get to tell you about the worst and most frustrating character we've seen so far, Meta Knight. That's right, we get 2 Kirby characters introduced at once, and just like Meta Knight in Smash Bros, he is an annoying pain in the dick. Meta Knight acts as a Foxy-like character in this game. He will appear in camera 2, which is the entrance. He will make his way through a few stages, and once he disappears from camera 2, he will charge at your office, and you'll be able to hear his footsteps quickly approaching. What you'll have to do is, as fast as you fucking can, run to the back shed and lock the door. Come in real close for me, just for a second. I'm gonna whisper this in your ear, so make sure you turn your volume up so you can hear me. You got it? Yeah? Volume all the way up? Okay, great. Don't let anyone know I told you this, okay? Meta Knight is so goddamn cock-sucking fast! You barely have any time to react once you hear his footsteps coming. You quite literally have just enough time to get to the back shed and close the door. This motherfucker is brutal. But Dexter, you're supposed to watch him in camera 2, and once he leaves, then you go to the shed. Sounds pretty easy to me. Shut the fuck up! While yes, it's true that once he leaves camera 2, he will charge at you, watching him really doesn't even fucking matter. Because the moment he leaves 2, the sound cue of him running starts playing. So you might as well just wait for the fucking sound cue, since watching him will only waste the precious time you need to focus on the other characters that actually do give you the time of day to deal with them. And if that wasn't bad enough, Meta Knight is in the entrance, an outdoor camera, which means not only is it dark as fuck, but your fucking camera light doesn't work on that camera anyways! So you have to rely on the fucking lightning to be able to see jack dick from that camera. But the lightning is not consistent at all. It's completely random, and it only lights up outside cameras for, oh, I don't know, maybe less than a fucking second. So if you want to check the entrance, you either have to just fucking sit there and wait for the lightning to show up, which could take several seconds that you need to be using to check on the other characters, or you could wait to hear the lightning and try to quickly flip to camera 2 to check on this annoying fucker. Both options suck dick, so I guess pick your fucking poison. But if you can tighten your sphincter and listen closely and have reflexes like a god for long enough, Meta Knight will fold, you will complete Night 2, and we can begrudgingly move on to Night 3, where I can only hope to God that 3 more characters aren't introduced. Night 3, here we are. Let me tell you guys, This night does nothing to help with my crippling mental state, because let me tell you, this night is hard. Like, really fucking hard. Let's talk about the threats introduced and why this night is so ass. This night only introduces 2 threats. However, one of them is easily the most infuriating character in this entire game. So let's talk about the one that doesn't make me want to stick my willy in a pencil sharpener first. Link. Link appears in the courtyard where we deal with Pikachu. You'll notice on this night that as you go to the courtyard, you'll now be equipped with a metal pipe. This pipe is used as a form of defense against Link. When Link appears in the courtyard, he will giggle really fucking loud to let you know he's there. You will have to hit him 3 times in order for him to go away. Every time you hit him, he will teleport to a different spot on the screen. However, you can only hit him when the Majora's Mask's eyes are red. If they're blue, you'll have to stare at him until they turn red before you can start hitting him. This brings up even more evil synergies with fuck-ass Meta Knight, since you won't be able to pass him until you kill him. Bro, he won't die. What? He wouldn't die. The Majora's Mask guy wouldn't die. And Meta Knight was coming. What was I supposed to do? Now, let's talk about one of the worst and most stressful characters known to mankind, Ness. On night 3, you'll notice in the shed that we now have a new addition of a fuse box. However, you'll notice that this fuse box only has 1 fuse, but there are 3 places for a fuse to go. You can freely move this fuse from one slot to another, but what does this fuse actually control? Well, on 3 cameras on the map that connect to the hallway in front of your office, there is a fire alarm in each of them. However, the button for the fire alarm will only appear on the camera that is adjacent to whichever slot in the fuse box holds the fuse. So if your fuse is in slot B, then camera 9 will have the smoke alarm button on the cameras. Ness will appear in any of these 3 possible cameras. When he appears on one of them, you will have to play the smoke alarm to scare him away. Yes, this means that if your fuse is in slot B and you see Ness on camera 11, you will have to quickly run all the way to the back shed and switch the fuse to slot C, then run all the way back and hope you were fast enough to play the smoke alarm in time. And you want to hear the best part? Ness blends in with the background while the lights are off better than any other character in this entire fucking game. So have fun being able to find him. He also really likes to hide on the side of the cameras, so you'll have to spend even more time slowly panning the 3 cameras he can be in back and forth to really be able to tell if he's in one of them. Easily the character I died to the most, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. I think I'm willing to say I hate Ness more than Meta Knight, honestly, but it's really, really close. Fuck Ness, he's a bitch. Night 4. Holy shit. I did not think they could make it any worse. And that's exactly what they did. Night 4 adds 3 new characters. Yes, I'm serious. They added 3 more fucking characters to this game, bringing the total up to like fucking, I don't know, 12? I'm not keeping track anymore. This is just insane. Before we start talking about the threats, Juniper, the phone girl, told us that there's an investigation going on. She doesn't tell us what it's about though, just says that the park might close soon for a while. She also does mention that some of the characters are starting to attack patrons during the day, so that bodes great for what they're going to do to us tonight. Speaking of, who are they? Well, let's talk about the smallest problem this night introduces, Fox Puppet. But it's really just fucking Star Fox. Star Fox has a chance to appear in the courtyard behind the fence. However, he is not a fan of being shocked by it, so if you electrocute him, he's gonna dive into your butt. Get it? Because foxes do that thing where they jump really high and dive, but he's diving into your... You get it, fuck me. When he's at your fence, all you have to do is spam your flashlight at him and he'll go away. Really not a big deal at all, and honestly, the amount of time you have to flash him is pretty forgiving. And you can even go to the back shed while he's standing there if you really want to, so in all honesty, he's not that bad. However, the next fuckhead we'll have to talk about is a pain in the dick, Captain Olimar. I'm pretty sure is who this is, at least. He will appear in the hallway in your office with 2 sets of eyes. I mention his eyes because they're very important to his attack. On night 4, a thermostat will become present in your back shed, and he directly correlates with this thermostat. When you hear him enter your office, which is signaled by some footsteps, you will have to look at his eyes. If both sets of eyes are red, you will have to run to the back shed and set the thermostat to hot. If they're both blue, set it to cold, and if one set is blue and the other set are red, then set the thermostat to mixed. After a few seconds, all alarms should go away. I don't think I need to explain why this is so horseshit to deal with, especially considering the amount of characters that require so much attention, so I'm not even gonna bring it up. Just know that I'm on the verge of peeling my foreskin like a banana. The final threat this night introduces, which yes, in case you forgot, there is still another threat to throw on top of all this bullshit, is Samus. Samus will enter your office through your hallway on either side. The cameras in which she will try to enter from will now be equipped with a lock button. They're not toggleable and must be held to hold the gutters shut. When you see Samus in either of these cameras, simply hold the lock button shut for a few seconds and she'll run away. Ironically enough, even with all of these threats active, Ness is still the character that has caused me the most suffering throughout this game. He is easily the most frustrating threat of all time. I've also died to Luigi a decent handful of times at this point, just because of how easy it is to forget about him. There is surely no way this game can get any harder. Right? It got harder, so let's talk about it. The phone call from Juniper on this night has her talking about how I shouldn't come to work tomorrow and that I'm stupid for clocking in today. That we agree on. I'm not really sure why I'm here. Apparently things are getting super dangerous, so that's awesome. There's a new threat on this night who doesn't like bright lights, so Juniper said she's changed out our camera lights. Great! Hopefully they're better now. They're worse. Oh, so very worse than they were before. Now, instead of having the brightness on the cameras for a few seconds and having a long recharge time, we now have less than a second flash of light and we get a faster recharge time. This is worse in every single conceivable way possible. Dude, this new flashlight thing, fuck this. Oh my god. What is this guy gonna look like, dude? Fuck me. I personally think that a great deal of this game's difficulty comes from it being difficult to see and track the characters. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, by the way. I know the retards over on Reddit like to misconstrue every single point I've ever made. No, I think it's cool that finding the characters is a challenge. However, now only having this small flash of light makes it so fucking much more AIDS-ridden to be able to do so. So, why on earth was our camera light downgraded this badly? Well, to deal with the one new threat this night introduces. Mario. Dexter? Mario was already introduced on night 1. Did you already forget? No, dear viewer. I did not forget that. There are just 2 fucking Marios now. Why not? Fuck it, right? Why not add another existing Nintendo character? Why Mario again? I have no fucking idea. I don't really understand the thought process here, but we're just gonna shut our fucking mouths and roll with it. This Mario is easily the most stress-inducing character we've seen so far. More stressful than Ness, more stressful than Meta Knight. Occasionally, throughout this night, you'll hear Mario say, Wahoo. And that just means bad news for you. Do you want to take a solid guess as to what you have to do when you hear this sound cue? Go on, go ahead. Guess for me. I've not really complained about any of the mechanics introduced so far, as I feel each of them are pretty unique and offer something of substance to the gameplay loop. So come on, tell me what you think this game is about to do to me. Come here, come here, come here, come here, guess! Guess, you piece of shit! Guess what this game did to me! You have to go find Mario on one of the cameras at random and flash him with your light. I'll find them on the camera mechanic again! How many videos in a row have we had this on this channel? I don't think there's ever been a video where this dog shit cock-sucking mechanic wasn't present! And that's not all. No. Not only do you have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to once, no. You have to find him on a random camera that he teleports to 3 times in a fucking row! Are you kidding me? Most characters in this game only have you deal with them once or twice throughout the night. Mario? At least fucking 3! You have to find this motherfucker on a random camera, while timed, by the way, and dealing with every other character at the same time a whopping 9 fucking times! Fuck! 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 I can't fucking handle this shit. This is too much for my brain to handle. Over 10 fucking characters to deal with at the same goddamn time. And all of a sudden I'm in with this bullshit. This game is shoving carrots in my ass like some Bugs Bunny shit. What the fuck is wrong with you? Give me another character that forces me to go to this shit. I don't give a fuck. Not another find them on the fucking camera character. You've got to be fucking me in my rear. Go find my dick. Go find my ass. Go find my balls. Go find my taint. Go find my tits. Chop my penis into 10 fucking pieces and throw each piece onto a camera and go fucking find them all. Fuck you!
Nintendo, no, you ain't gonna stop me when I get it going. I ain't gonna slow, no, curtains ain't closing. Pouring all the salt, keep the insults flowing. Let up all the incense, come before the storm. Gather in the Smash Bros army like a swarm. Find them on the cameras, nothing but the norm. Cause another crash out, dog, I'm getting bored. Said, dog, I'm getting bored with you. I'm warning you. You don't really wanna start another war, do you? I don't know who's been around here misinforming you. When you fuck with Dexter, what the horn's pouring at you.
Up first, Mario is on the chopping block. The fat fuck plumber getting nothing on his cock. His bitch is locked up with a lizard, dropping cheeks on his rock hard fucking penis round the clock. God damn, it's fucking embarrassing. Her hair's in a bun and he's burying himself in her and she's having fun and he's getting his cum and her sending videos of him fucking her. Check your messages and see. I'll get her home when I'm done with her. Daisy's with him too, Luigi don't know the truth. He's staring at the video, skin white like King Boo. Does he dare to check another? No, it ain't true. Check your Snapchat, bro. She's saying he's bigger than you. Damn! I dumb bitch, I've been locked in on like Samus and that other bitch, Mega Man. Link on my shit, I could knock you with both hands. Make your head spin, do a dance on your can. Pikachu, flash a light at Pikachu. You behind the fence, I charge it up and thunderbolt you. Now you fried up, but we still got another hoe to boot. Star Fox turn, flash, epilepsy. Ooh! You get a seizure, Kirby in my heater. Blast his ass into the fucking ether. Samus back, her ass so fat I need her. Call her lowest way, she gripped my Peter. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie? Yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at them like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie? Yes or no?
Alright, coming real close. Answer me this question, why you bitches on my chode? Ness is looking at me, licking lips, don't want it though. Gotta flip the fuse box, keep this on the low. Alright, look, I don't know why you're doing this shit. I'm just trying to do my job and you keep riding on my dick. If it was Samus, that'd be fine, but it'd be everybody. Why you're trying to make it through the week, but you keep stretching out the time. Like my asshole, keep on pulling me in with a lasso. Ride me like a cowboy in the desert in El Paso. Friday come along and mad and not be on me bed and matter of fact, he spanked me with a paddle, made my ass rattle. Put a saddle on me, hit me with a rowel, then he growl. In the locker rooms, he hit me with a towel, then he plowing on my shit. I'm doing tricks up on his stick. I did the splits contortionist, a boy that flip me over, slide me, bend me over backwards. Nintendo, no! Never gonna switch games, I'm about to blow. I've been making big waves, I've been good to go. Do you need to hit save, Annie? Yes or no? Nintendo, no! I've been shooting at him like it's Rochambeau. I could kamikaze on a rainbow road. I might cause a riot when I beat them bros. Do you need to hit save, Annie? Yes or no? Well, glad I got all that out of my system. With that, we can move on to night 6 and talk about something that actually doesn't make me want to kill myself. However, it does still lay a lot on you. Loading into night 6, you'll see we're no longer in the office and we are now actually in a fucking bunker. How did we get here? I have no idea, but that doesn't really matter. What does matter, however, are the new tools at our disposal. However, me explaining all of them to you right now will not be very helpful. So I'll quickly explain the general tools, and then we'll talk about the character-specific ones as we learn about said characters. Obviously, we have our cameras, pretty self-explanatory. We also have 3 entrances to our office, the big hallway right in front of us, and 2 doors to our left and right. These doors can be closed remotely through the cameras, but you have to slowly charge them up before they can close, and only one can be closed at a time. Also, at any time we'd like, we can cut the power to our office and be left in complete darkness with our thoughts, like me late at night questioning what I'm even doing anymore. But this isn't a therapy session, so let's continue.
what about the threats introduced on this night? Given the fact we're in a different location, it has to be different characters, right? Well, that would actually be correct. However, one of the characters is a repeat. Remember that one Mario that I really didn't like from Night 5? I know I was pretty subtle about it. Well, it appears he followed us down here. However, he is incredibly easy to deal with this time around. He'll wander around the cameras and eventually find his way into your office. Once he stands in front of you, menacingly, all you have to do is whip out your fucking baton like my Willy and tase him in the balls. I'm not kidding. This is fucking awesome and is just what I need after dealing with the bullshit he put me through on Night 5. The next threat introduced on this night is Mega Man. He is also pretty simple. He will try to enter your office through your left or right door. When you see him in that door's respective camera, simply charge up that door and seal it shut. Once he bangs on it, you're free to open the door again. Next, we've got to talk about the Villager. She confused me quite a bit during my playthrough, which you can see over on my second channel, Dexter Black. She will enter your office through any of the 3 possible entrances. Her rules state that once she enters your office, shut the lights off until you hear her run away. So tell me, what do you think that means? If you answered, wait until she appears in your office like Mario, then cut the lights until you hear footsteps, then turn the lights back on and continue, then you'd be completely fucking wrong, because she actually never appears in your office at all. You cannot see her when she's inside of your office, even if she is literally there. So, how are you meant to deal with her then? Well, you'll have to carefully track her on the cameras. When she enters camera 8, 7, or 6, her next movement will be into your office. So, if you see her on one of those cameras and then don't see her anymore, that means she's currently in your office and you need to cut the lights. The best part? If you have the left door closed and she goes to camera 6, indicating that she will be entering your office through the left door, even if it's closed like we've already established, she'll still be able to enter your office through that door. Isn't that just amazing? Anyways, I could point out the nuances all day long, but that's not what you're here for. The final threat introduced on this night is Andross, a character I've legitimately never seen before in my entire life. I've been able to recognize each character so far, even if I haven't played the game they were from, like Star Fox, for example. But Andross? What the fuck is even that? Okay, I just looked it up. It's the main antagonist of Star Fox. Crazy coincidence that I just mentioned Star Fox and that I've never played it. That would make sense as to why I didn't know who this was then. Anyways, what does he actually do? Well, in my opinion, he is the most annoying character on this night. He is completely invisible on the cameras, and if he ever gets into your office, you die. In order to track him, you have to use the camera's built-in motion detectors. However, something really interesting about these motion detectors is that they're a piece of shit. Every single camera has the motion detector button. However, only one of the buttons on the cameras will work at a time, at random, and every few seconds, which camera has the working button will switch randomly. Meaning that, even though there's no character on this night that has a find them on the camera mechanic, these fucked up, morbid devs somehow find a way to work that bullshit into the fucking UI! What the fuck are you doing to me? I need to relax. I can't scream anymore. Breathe. How do we deal with Andross? Well, when he is on either camera 8, 7, or 6, you will have to use your heater on whichever camera he's on. Using the UI on the cameras, you can select which camera the heater targets and then blast heat into said camera remotely. Doing so will scare Andross away. Now, that's all of the characters this night introduces. However, there's still one more very important thing I've neglected to mention. Unlike every other night present in this game, Night 6 has a task-based completion system rather than a survival-based one. So that bodes the question, what is the task we have to complete? Well, on the computer at your desk, there are 5 important files we have to decrypt and extract onto our USB drive. The way we decrypt them is simple. Several strings of 4-digit number codes will appear on the monitor, and all we have to do is type them in. Type in several 4-string digit codes without messing up in a row, and trust me, it'll feel like you'll have to do this a billion fucking times, and you'll download one of the files. Do this for all 5 files, and the night is over. This task being added to this night easily makes it the most stressful mechanic this game has ever introduced. I was not expecting something like this from this game, and I honestly wasn't expecting a crazy final night like this in general. I'm all for it. Overall, I do still think Night 5 was harder than this night, but this was definitely a nice change of pace. After completing the night, we take our USB, run out of the bunker and into the parking lot, and drive off to the police station to show them our evidence. Looking back, we notice Mario followed us out and was left standing in the parking lot. We almost didn't make it out alive. It's revealed that our name isn't really Terrence, and we've secretly been an undercover investigator this entire time. The police raided Nintendo World and arrested the CEO, Leonard. Everything we mentioned in our report was found except for one single thing: Mario himself. The only thing that was left to even prove he was present was his hat. Not knowing his whereabouts now, Late Shift at Nintendo World comes to a close. Kind of. There's actually a fuck ton more this game has to offer in the form of post-game content and challenges, with a whopping 12 additional characters for us to unlock and fuck around with. There's 9 other ones? There's 12 more? At the time of writing, I have no idea how these characters are achieved except for one. In the challenges menu, 2 fun challenges are present, and when I say fun, I really just mean ass. The first is blind mode, which will cause a constant blizzard to be present during the nights, making it harder to see in your office and in the courtyard. It also forces Night 5's shitty flash mechanic throughout the nights, and increases the amount of time you have to wait between flashes to make it even worse. And if that wasn't enough, blind mode still has one more big fuck you, in the form of a new threat: the Ice Climbers. The way they work is pretty simple, but retarded nonetheless. They have a chance to appear in any of the 3 major locations you can be in. If you ever see them, you just have to go to another area until they leave. I can't describe how terrible that sounds. Again, at the time of writing this, I have no plans to attempt this challenge, nor any of the custom night modes, which I assume will unlock the remaining characters. I do have the thought of attempting these on stream in the coming weeks, so let me know if that's something you'd be interested in seeing me doing and covering. Overall, I think Late Shift at Nintendo World is actually amazing. While I did find a lot of the characters annoying and stressful, the overall gameplay loop is very satisfying to nail down and will leave you feeling like a badass as you complete it. Yes, the entire game is just an asset dump, but you can't deny the crazy amount of effort and care put into it, and that's something I can always appreciate. Being overwhelmed, not necessarily something as we people look for in life. There are a lot of things people like to do that don't really make sense to me. Some people like to go cliff jumping or skydiving, something to give them an adrenaline rush, and while I myself would never do it, I can at least understand how that could be appealing. You want to know something nobody ever wants though? To be overwhelmed. This is the reason why a lot of max mode challenges can turn a lot of people off, and the same reason why I have no interest in trying out Hopeless Pursuit. For the love of God, please stop emailing me about Hopeless Pursuit. I'm not doing it. However, recently I found a FNAF game that is one of the most unique FNAF experiences I've ever played, except there was something very interesting about it. It has to be one of the most overwhelming Five Nights at Freddy's games I've ever played. This is probably going to be a long one, so sit back, relax, and let's talk about Next Week at Freddy's. Next Week at Freddy's takes FNAF 1 and completely reworks everything about it, adding several brand new mechanics to make your heart sink into your ass. And nothing explains this feeling better than when you load into the office and turn around for the first time. Oh, whoa. Whoa, oh, 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 fuck. This is the control panel, your main mode of defense throughout this game. If this looks like a lot, that's because it is. Here's a fun fact, I actually went to play this game around 4 months ago. But after seeing this monstrosity behind me, I actually ended my recording and chose a different game to play because of how ridiculous it looked. This control panel is intimidating. There are so many switches, levers, and panels on this thing. I wouldn't blame you if you decided just from glancing at this that this game wasn't for you. To really understand just how much shit goes on in this game and how much you'll have to learn, this game actually gives you a tutorial night where you can mess around with everything in the building for as long as you want, because just throwing you into the game would 100% be too overwhelming. Next Week at Freddy's doesn't have any phone calls, nobody to help you and to explain to you what to do. Except there kind of is. This is Comcat. Get used to seeing him a lot. His first major role is in the tutorial night, where he will teach you how to use the computers and teach you the mechanics of each important camera in the game, which, by the way, there is a fuck ton of them. So strap in and get ready because it's about to get insane. I'll explain the important mechanics as they become relevant. So let's start with how Comcat works, because yes, of course, he himself acts as a threat. While Comcat himself can't kill you, he can be the most annoying character on the face of the earth when he wants to be. You can click on his icon on your taskbar to make him appear. There are a few phrases he will say when you do this, and occasionally a phrase will prompt you to respond to it. While you're talking with Comcat, you won't be able to interact with anything else on the computer. This includes your cameras, but to be honest, everything else on the computer isn't useful from a gameplay standpoint. If you don't periodically check on Comcat this way, he will take speaking with you into his own hands and appear on the screen whenever he wants. He's pretty much just Bonzi Buddy, except he doesn't steal your private data. When Comcat chooses to appear on his own, the conversation you'll have with him will be much longer than if you initiated the conversation yourself. And since you can't control anything until Comcat leaves, it's in your best interest to occasionally check up on him. Two characters become active on night 1, Bonnie and Chica. But before we talk about their mechanics, I want to take a moment to really appreciate how amazing this game looks. Every little detail looks incredible, especially the animatronics. If you look very closely, you'll be able to see the fuzz from the fabric on the robots. It's honestly some of the coolest stuff I've ever seen. So much attention to detail, it's incredible. But now we can talk about how Bonnie and Chica work. And trust me, these guys do way more than what they do in the official games. Like, take every mechanic that each of them does from every official game and merge them together, and I bet you that they will still do more in this game. I told you it was overwhelming, so let's get into it. Let's start with Bonnie, since he's usually the baseline, basic FNAF character. The character that should be simple to understand and should pave the way for more interesting mechanics to form off of it in later animatronics. How much could he possibly do? Well, a fuck ton. Like, a shitload. Bonnie's a whole fucking FNAF game by himself, I can't even lie. Bonnie starts on stage. You might be wondering why I'm not just saying what I usually say.
Oh, he walks around the building and eventually makes his way to your office.
Well, because he's not that simple this time around. So tracking his movements is actually important. Bonnie has 4 possible attack methods. I'm sorry. 4? That's the most insane thing I've ever heard of. And Bonnie is supposed to be the simplest character? I'm mortified of what is yet to come. Well, calm down, buddy. Let's go over each possible route that Bonnie can take, starting with the most basic one, heading to your office. This one is simple. Bonnie will walk to your office, appear in your window for a while, and eventually walk into the doorway where you can really see how fucking hulkingly terrifying these robots are. I know that FNAF 1 animatronics are like 6'9" or something like that canonically, but no FNAF game has really shown that off in a way that is meaningful. Seeing the animatronics in the doors in this game is actually kind of scary. Obviously, just close the door and you'll be a-okay. However, do keep in mind that the animatronics in this game like to sit at the door for approximately 12 years, so that's fun. Bonnie's next means of making your life miserable is through attacking the compressor room. What the fuck is the compressor room? Well, now is the time we get to start talking about the control panel, and where this game really starts to become an overwhelming headache. The compressor is a large machine inside of the building. The compressor is what allows the doors all throughout the building to be closed, because as I'm sure you could have guessed, it compresses the air that allows the pistons of the door to work properly. I think. I don't know, I'm not an engineer. If any engineers are watching, explain how wrong I am about compression and pistons or whatever the fuck in the comments. Thanks. Bonnie will try to enter this compressor room through the hallway camera right before your office. You will have to use the control panel behind you to remotely close off the door to the compressor room before Bonnie gets the chance to enter. However, it's moments like these where I need to bring up an issue I was never able to figure out myself. Since this game is made in a 3D environment, unlike the Click Team FNAF games, it gives a lot more room for the characters to move around. So it's very common that you'll be able to see characters in multiple places on the same camera. When it comes to doors like the compressor room, telling exactly where the animatronic's next move is going to be is borderline impossible. Sometimes it's obvious and the character will be standing right next to the door facing it. However, sometimes they'll be miles upon miles away from the fucking door, yet still have their next movement opportunity be into said door.
You're not near the door, you're fine.
Oh, Chica, you dick. So this leads to you closing doors whenever you see a character on the camera, which a lot of the times the character was never going to enter in the first place, therefore just wasting a fuck ton of power for no reason. If Bonnie manages to get into the compressor room, he'll slap his fat crack all over it and break it, which will require you to reboot your compressor. With your compressor off, you obviously won't be able to shut any of the doors throughout the building. This includes the doors you can close on the cameras. Bonnie's next attack strategy is the camera connections in the server room. This works exactly the same as the compressor room in theory. You can close the door to the server room when an animatronic is close using the control panel behind you. If Bonnie manages to get inside the server room, he'll drop his big fat stupid balls all over the control panel and fuck up your camera connections, making you unable to see any of the cameras. You will then have to manually reboot them, which along with the compressor reboot takes a very long time. However, I'd argue that not being able to see your cameras affects the gameplay loop a lot more often. Where a lot of FNAF games fail to make the cameras super useful, Next Week at Freddy's succeeds greatly at making the cameras more important than any other tool at your disposal. The final attack strategy that Bonnie can have is activating Foxy, which brings up Foxy altogether. There are actually two different versions of Foxy in this game, the normal one and the scrapped one in the back room. We'll talk about the back room one later. For now, let's focus on the main Foxy. By himself, Foxy is incapable of doing anything and will never attack you, only through the assistance of Bonnie and two other animatronics that can activate him. Bonnie has the chance to enter Pirate's Cove and attempt to activate Foxy. Once Bonnie enters, you won't have a super long time to stop him before Foxy comes for that ass.
No.
Fucking dick!
My whole asshole just fell off. It did, just dropped right out. Just dropped. Just flop. Just fell right out. Fell right out of my ass.
Using the special flashlight on the Pirate's Cove camera, you can scare away any unwanted animatronics. However, using this light does temporarily cause higher power usage from everything that uses power. For what reason? I have no fucking idea. I guess God just hates me. If you don't scare Bonnie away fast enough, Foxy will activate and run to your door. If you don't close it fast enough, he'll place his hook into your rectum, and I'm sure you can imagine how unpleasant that would be. If you do close the door on time, just like FNAF 1, he'll take away some of your power. Except unlike FNAF 1, the max he can take isn't 6, instead being like fucking 15% power just disappears out of existence. So really make sure you're watching that Pirate's Cove camera. Whew. There, a couple of pages into the script, and I'm finally done talking about the very first character in this game. Isn't that awesome? Now it's time to talk about Chica. Chica also has 4 different ways to attack you. Isn't that just fucking awesome? Luckily for us, 3 of the mechanics are identical to Bonnie. Obviously, Chica can attack your right door. She can also try to fuck up your cameras using the server room, and she's one of the other characters that will attempt to activate Foxy. However, I have noticed that it seems like Bonnie will attempt to a lot more frequently. However, that may also just be because Bonnie's AI value is typically always higher than Chica's is. The new mechanic that Chica adds is pretty similar to Bonnie's compressor attack, except Chica will attempt to attack your power grid. When you see her near the power grid door, you can obviously close it using the control panel behind you. If she manages to get into the power grid room, she will literally just shut off the power to the entire building, and you'll have to reboot it, which takes quite a long time. The power being turned off is undoubtedly the most dreadful situation you can be in. Not only does it require you to wait a billion years for your power to turn back on, but the power being turned off also turns off the compressor, meaning that after you wait forever for the power to turn back on, you then have to wait forever again for the compressor to turn back on. And on top of that, at the start of each night, you have to boot up the cameras, which takes time in and of itself. So of course, when the power is cut, you'll have to reboot the computer as well. Oh yeah, and don't forget to be checking on Comcat frequently or he'll waste even more of your time. Geez, Dexter, this sounds pretty complicated, and we haven't even introduced everyone yet? Exactly. We still have a lot more to talk about. But if you want to feel a little bit better, the lower the character's AI, the less likely they are to make the most effective choices, meaning that on night 1, most of the movement will be Bonnie and Chica trying to disable your cameras. I personally didn't have them come to my doors on night 1 at all. Night 2 doesn't add anything new, it just increases the AI of Bonnie and Chica, so chances are you're going to be seeing at least one of them at your door on this night. However, I will be taking this time to talk about what I feel is this game's biggest flaw: time. The nights in this game are long as fuck. I'm talking super fucking long. However long you think they are, they're longer. Most typical FNAF games now will have a real life second equal 1 in-game minute, meaning that most nights in FNAF games are 6 minutes long. I feel this is a good length for a night, just dividing the in-world night time in minutes by 10. However, Next Week at Freddy's thought it'd be really funny and a little bit quirky to make each in-game minute 2 seconds in real life, meaning that each night in Next Week at Freddy's is a whopping 12 fucking minutes long. Are we serious? I guess I get it. The animatronics move pretty slowly to give you time to properly search for them on the cameras. But 12 minutes? I think I'd rather swallow a grenade and die, thank you. Like, I still beat the whole game, but god damn, losing when you're 11 minutes into a night will really make you question how violent of a person you actually are. Now, something interesting happens after beating night 2. We get thrown into what this game calls nightmare segments. Think of them like this game's version of a post-night minigame, except this time there's actually way more to do and it isn't mind-numbingly boring. Well, okay, the first one is. During this nightmare segment, we wake up in the back room of the restaurant. Is this actually happening or is this a nightmare? I'm not 100% sure, but I'm leaning more towards it being a nightmare just because of the name of the segment. We wake up on the floor and notice that the door is closed and we're stuck inside. We say that someone will surely come to find us, and without even standing up, the nightmare ends. Again, I told you the first one was boring, but they will only get more and more interesting from here, trust me. Moving on to night 3, once again, nothing new is added. The AI of Bonnie and Chica are just increased. But you really have to think, with how many different ways each of them can attack you, and how overwhelming the game's system as a whole is, this is still enough to make each night feel significantly more difficult than the last. Moving on to the second nightmare segment, we're finally able to stand up and really get a good look at our surroundings. The room is very small and very cramped, which would give any normal person a feeling of claustrophobia. We pick up a flashlight that barely does a goddamn thing and start to explore for an exit. It's at this point where I notice that these nightmare sections would be my least favorite part of the game because of the horrendous mix of both motion blur and horrific head bobbing. But that's really besides the point. We eventually notice a door and recognize that it's just like the one in the office. However, the lever that controls the door is missing. We find it on a desk, but before we can attach it to escape, a throbbing pain comes to our head and we pass out. Night 4 is where we get to talk about the new and final threat this game has to offer. But don't let that fool you, because this threat is a big one. A big stinker. A poopy head for all of you elementary schoolers out there who really shouldn't be watching my channel. Night 4 introduces Freddy, and let me tell you, he's got all the tricks up his sleeve, and he's ready to flatten you like a pancake and fold you like an omelet. Freddy can literally do everything, and he moves faster than the other animatronics, so needless to say, he's going to be the one that grabs a clump of your rump and doesn't let go like a snapping turtle. Not only can Freddy take all 4 of the paths that Bonnie and Chica can take, those being fucking the compressor room, activating Foxy, killing the power, and disconnecting your cameras, he can also attack either of your doors, and there's also something else unique to him that he can do. Remember how I told you that there are 2 Foxies in this game? Yeah, Freddy fucks around with the other one. Scrapped Foxy is present in the back room. The only other character who will enter this room is Freddy. And be careful, because sometimes seeing Freddy on this camera can be pretty difficult, as he has the habit of hiding in the shadows. When you see Freddy in the back room, shut the door to Scrapped Foxy's room using the control panel behind you. If Freddy manages to get inside, he will send Scrapped Foxy to your office. However, unlike normal Foxy, Scrapped Foxy can attack either of your doors. I personally have no idea how much power he takes away when he pounds on your door, as I'm a fucking god gamer and never had to deal with him.
It is a mistake I will not make again. Uh-oh. Okay, let's talk about this. I had that fucking door closed when Freddy was in there.
Which, by the way, you can see my epic FNAF scales on my second channel, Dexter Black. But once Scrapped Foxy pounds on your door, he'll break in the hallway where he won't reactivate for the rest of the night. And from here, nothing else actually gets added to the night sections. Each night just gets more and more difficult. Now sure, there aren't a lot of threats that can happen at the same time, but the reason why this game is so overwhelming is because of how much you have to remember. You have to know where all the characters are. You have to understand how each mechanic works, and you have to be able to control your nerves during all of this for 12 minutes straight and barely pass each night due to almost running out of power because these animatronics camp more than a fat Call of Duty player.
Oh, hi, Chica. My luck is gargantuan right now.
Moving on to the third nightmare segment, this game really shows how much of a dickhead it can really be. We wake back up and are finally able to put the lever on the door, only to find out that the door isn't even getting power, which doesn't make sense because we know from the night sections that if there's no power, the door opens, but what the fuck ever, I'm pretty sure this is literally just a nightmare. Turning around, we notice that the once cramped room is now larger, as a wall that was previously present has disappeared, now leading into a large storage area. With our worthless flashlight in hand, we venture into the dark room, following a wire on the ceiling that will hopefully lead to something to turn the power on. After some wandering, we find a breaker box, but it's locked and we're unable to get into it. We figure a key must be around the maze of a storage area somewhere, so we set out to find it. Guys, I hated this section so fucking much. I mentioned earlier I have motion sickness, and this gameplay is some of the most nauseating shit I've ever seen in my life. During my playthrough, which you can watch over on my second channel, Dexter Black, I spent a pretty decent amount of time looking for this key, and I couldn't find it. With my head pounding and really just wanting to wrap up the video, I looked up a walkthrough just to see where it was. I went to the location where the guy in the walkthrough found it, shout out to Indie Fuel by the way, only to find that the key wasn't there. The key spawns in a random location, so you can't look up where it is. I now had to spend who the fuck knows how long wandering around with the feeling that my head was about to implode looking for a key the size of your ball sack. However, eventually I did find it and I used it to unlock the breaker, only to find out that all we unlocked was another fucking lock. God damn it! Are you serious? This is not a thing that has ever existed. Now we have to find a 4-digit code in this fucking hellhole. This is by far the worst nightmare segment in the entire game. It is ruthless. At first I thought, oh, let's just try the classics. You know, 1987, 1983, but nothing worked. So I assumed that I had to go find the numbers somewhere. I checked the walkthrough, and of course, the code is randomized. Amazing. After once again, who fucking knows how long, I wander back to the breaker, only for the game to then tell me that I should listen for clicks on the correct numbers. Are you fucking me right now? Why did you not tell me that when I was guessing codes before? Why did you wait so fucking long to come up with that? This game hates me. This game is pulling my hair and just plowing the shit out of me like I'm a dirty little slut. But whatever. We input the code and flip the breaker switch, and as we're walking back to the door to try and open it, we once again pass out. I guess that's what happened when you're just fucked for hours upon hours at a time. You get so tired you just pass out. Fantastic. As I've said, Night 5 doesn't add anything new, so we can just jump right back into the hellhole that is these nightmare segments, where the same 15-second ambience loops forever right in my fucking ear when I already have a goddamn headache. Once again, we wake up and walk back to the door to see if we can open it. We flip the switch, and for fuck's sake, something's wrong with the compressor, so we have to go try and find something else. Now, I'm not sure if this next part was just a me thing, so for anyone else who has played this game, let me know if this next part happened to you. We're told literally nothing of importance. The only thing our character states is something along the lines of, "What am I going to do now?" And that's all we're left with. So my first thought is something along the lines of, oh, I just need to look for another who the fuck knows what. So I did just that. I wandered around the storage area looking for something I hadn't seen before. Who can even say how long I was wandering around before I eventually found what I was supposed to find? Directly next to the original room that we were in at the beginning of the nightmare segments, another wall miraculously disappeared, and that's where we were supposed to go. That wouldn't even be a huge problem if I could fucking see anything at all, but it's so fucking dark. I can't see my hands. It's so dark I can't even think, which I know doesn't make sense, but fuck it, here we are. Entering this new room, we see a bunch of pipes on the wall. We know the power is on, but figure that there's a generator somewhere that hasn't been turned on, because it wouldn't be a horror game if you didn't have to turn on a generator at some point, now would it? After wandering down a hallway that probably took me 20 minutes to find because I couldn't see a fucking thing, we stumble into the room where the generator is. We power it on and promptly pass out once more because of how loud it is. I'm sure you could guess, nothing new of note in Night 6, just really fucking hard. In the final nightmare segment, we wake up once more. We walk back to the pipes only to find that a bunch of gas, or air, whatever the fuck, is leaking out of them. So we have to find something to close the valves, which means I get to play another game of walk around aimlessly with a headache looking for a randomly generated tiny object when I can't see a fucking thing. After a long time searching, we find a valve. We then have to take the valve back over to the pipes and figure out which of the billion of them to close off. At first I thought, let's follow the pipe that leads to the door we're trying to open. So after following the completely unconventional and nonsensical twists and turns of the pipes, I found the one that went to the door. Placing the valve in that pipe, I tightened it and it caused the valve to shoot out at Mach 1000 and land who the fuck knows where. So you know what we get to do now? Play another game of walk around aimlessly with a headache looking for a randomly generated tiny object when I can't see a fucking thing. After finding it lying on the fucking ground, I decided fuck it, I'm just gonna brute force this one. And to my luck, the pipe I chose to put the valve in next just so happened to be the correct one, thank God. Finally, we head back over to the door and try to open it one final time, and finally it opens. We see a newspaper with some audio from a newscast playing in the background, explaining that an employee at Freddy Fazbear's burned down the building after reporting that the animatronic stalked him during the night. This employee is who I can only assume to be us. We were placed into a psychiatric hospital because everyone just assumed we were cuckoo bananas. We also find out that the owner of the restaurant, who in this game is called Jacob Fazler, retarded name, I should mention, has been arrested for killing several children, probably in reference to the typical FNAF missing children's incident. And of course, the co-owner, Marcus Reed, killed his daughter. Why did this game choose to give them different names instead of calling them William and Henry? I'm not totally sure. But with that, the main game of Next Week at Freddy's comes to a close. But this game's lore goes a lot deeper than what we've seen. I mean, seriously, the backstory of this game takes up an overwhelming majority of this game's own Wikipedia page. Throughout this game, you're able to look through the files on the computer while also doing things like checking the cameras. It's through these files where you can learn the most overwhelming bullshit you've ever been up against in your entire life. Alright, so let's break down the absolute shit show that is this game's retelling of the original FNAF lore. As I understand it, and with significant help from the wonderful writing of City, the creator of the FNAF fan game wiki. Seriously, I couldn't do this shit without you. No idea how you had it in you to write all this, but here's my shitty retelling. Next Week at Freddy's kicks off with Jacob Fazler and Marcus Reed, the two guys behind Fazbear Enterprises. They started cooking up the idea in the late 80s, and by October of 1989, they have brought the building that would become Freddy Fazbear's Pizza family restaurant. Jacob even logs all of his progress on the same computer in the office you used during the game, talking about buying the stage, wiring the rooms, and bragging about getting pneumotronics to build the animatronics. He also casts the voices, Adam Burton as Freddy, Rick Ellis as Foxy, and Davey and Suzanne Paul for Bonnie and Chica. By 1990, the place is open. Business is booming, Jacob marries Nancy, she helps out in the studio, and soon they're running 3 locations. Everything looks fine, but Marcus slowly drifts away from the company, skipping meetings and distancing himself. In 1995, Jacob installs the infamous control panel in the office. You know, the fucking NASA dashboard of switches that's basically the whole reason this game is overwhelming in the first place. Then, life falls apart. Nancy dies, and that's never explained, and Jacob is left raising their daughter Lara on his own. Lara grows up around the restaurant but loses interest in it, and Marcus cashes out of the company entirely. Jump to 1999. Jacob gets a shiny $12 million offer from Sunbird Hotel Corporation to expand, and for the first time in years, he's motivated again. But in 2001, Marcus storms back demanding his old share. Jacob tells him, "Too bad, fucker, the deal's already done," and Marcus has a meltdown. He's literally dragged out by Adam Burton, Freddy's voice actor, and Marcus files a lawsuit, but the outcome is never revealed. And then tragedy hits. In June 2001, Lara is found dead in the storage room of Freddy's. 3 days later, Sunbird pulls their deal. Jacob's later logs get darker. He writes about hearing Lara's cries and feeling like she's watching him, angry. By 2002, he admits he's, quote, made a mistake. That mistake? Involvement in the deaths of 3 children. Not long after, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica start moving in disturbingly lifelike ways, which, yeah, the model viewer pretty much confirms are the spirits of those 3 kids. Meanwhile, the employee chat logs on that same office computer show the slow collapse of the place. Staff complain about the animatronics walking around on their own, about creepy suits left lying around, about Jacob drinking and acting strange after Lara's death. Scrap Foxy briefly gets mentioned as this janky earlier version of Foxy. There's even a memo from Jacob banning guest mode after a balloon incident, and literally bolting the animatronics to the stage to avoid lawsuits. And as far as I'm aware, that's all Next Week at Freddy's has to offer. Overall, I think it's one of the most creative FNAF games ever designed from a gameplay standpoint. The game looks gorgeous, it functions really well, and it found a way to make literally every single mechanic useful, which is something a lot of FNAF games just don't seem to be able to do. I would highly recommend you play this game and give it a try. You will not regret it. The Five Nights at Freddy's formula. Arguably what defines a FNAF game in the genre of a FNAF game. You're stuck in a small space, you can't move, and several threats are trying to eliminate you as you use a small amount of tools to defend yourself for an arbitrary amount of time. This, in a nutshell, is Five Nights at Freddy's as a genre. However, there are some Five Nights at Freddy's fan games that don't follow this formula, and if it wasn't for the use of the characters from the original game, you would have no idea that they were even FNAF games to begin with. And maybe you can think of a few games like this. The game I'll be covering today is another one of those games. A game so unique, so good, that if it didn't use official FNAF characters, it could easily be its own fantastic survival horror experience. So sit back, strap in, and join me today as we cover Fredbear and Friends Reboot. You can honestly think about Fredbear and Friends Reboot as more of an Outlast, Resident Evil, or Poppy Playtime style game, purely in terms of how it plays. It's a story-based, free-roam survival horror game, except it uses characters and settings from the Five Nights at Freddy's universe, and it's honestly super cool. We play as a guy named Thomas. When this game takes place, the Fredbear and Friends restaurant had been closed for over 26 years. And together with our friends Chris, Ashley, and Richard, they all decided it'd be a great idea to do some urban exploring in the now abandoned building, not knowing that they were about to walk into a sick and sadistic death trap, the likes of which they'd never experienced before. We drive to the restaurant where all of our friends are waiting and head inside to find them. We all talk about what the plan is, and it seems like they don't even fucking have one. So like, why are we even here? No matter. We decide to all split up like Scooby and the gang to explore faster, something I would never agree to do because this building is so dark I can barely see 10 feet in front of me. So, to solve the darkness problem, Richard finds the power room as we enter the office of the building. Successfully turning the power on, I ask the question, is it even possible for a building 26 years abandoned to even be able to have power? That's a genuine question, by the way. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but like, who's paying that bill? The city? I have no idea. After having our fun in the office, we meet back up with our bald friend Chris. I know being bald isn't a crucial plot point, but a plot point I found relevant to point out. Like, imagine being bald. Couldn't be me. I have luscious locks. Bald bitch, loser bitch, boy, loser bitch. Chris tells us he wants to continue exploring to find out more about this place, which I call bullshit on because this bald loser is sitting down and is actually not exploring a damn thing. Heading back to the office, we find 2 documents for Chris since he's too lazy to go look for himself. One of the documents mentions the animatronics acting up, and the other talks about an armed man in a purple suit. I wonder who that could possibly be. We go back to where Chris was, only to find him missing. After exploring around, we realize we can't find Richard or Ashley either. We hear a voice in the distance yelling to get away, and later hear what sounds like Richard getting attacked.
What the fuck?
We decide to say fuck our friends and run to the exit, only to find that the door is somehow locked. We decide we need to go hide in the office since there's a door we can close to keep ourselves safe. As we run down the hallway, we run into Chris. Relieved, we go to greet him, only to watch him get snatched from something hiding in the vent on the ceiling, pulling him up into the ceiling and tearing him apart.
Yeah, not this way though, not fucking that way, no we ain't.
We obviously turn around and go to the other entrance of the office since I'm not about to get ganked like Chris just did. As we go to the other hallway, we can hear loud metallic footsteps following behind us. We quickly hide under the desk and hope that whatever is following us is retarded. We watch as a crooked spring Bonnie limps through the office, unaware of our location. We come back up only to hear a ring of the phone on the desk. We answer the phone to be greeted by some douchebag using voice mod like those guys that go on Valorant to flirt with any female over the age of 10.
If you want to survive, listen very closely.
He tells us how to survive each of the 8 animatronics. The fucking 8 goddamn cock-sucking animatronics. My god, that is a lot. I'm not going to explain every single animatronic at the same time right now because that would be boring as fuck. And trust me, this phone call was also boring as fuck. The big thing that we're told is that Fredbear is scary, and he's the reason why one of the doors to the office is broken. So fantastic, we have a door that doesn't work. What exactly are we supposed to do? I have no idea. I have no direction whatsoever aside from let's go see if I can break the exit door down. But before we can try anything, we're forced to listen to a cutscene while there are 8 hungry robots whose mouths begin to water whenever they smell my gooch. During this cutscene, we're put into the perspective of a mechanic named Simon. We're told that we have to go into the Fredbear's building to fix some of the robots because the customers reported them to be acting aggressive. So we can gauge that this cutscene obviously takes place before the shutdown. After this cutscene, we're actually put into the perspective of this mechanic as we head inside the building to solve the problem at 5 in the morning because as an engineer, we're on call all the time, yet still get paid like dog shit and are still expected to just wake up and travel at any time, even for the smallest of reasons that could 100% wait until my fucking shift starts. But alright, let's go I guess. As we enter the building, we notice the animatronics are on for some reason, and they shouldn't be at night. We figure somebody just forgot to shut them off, so we go to the employees' room to flip the switch to power them off to take a look at them. After grabbing the key from the office and heading inside, we find that the power lever for the robots is actually already off, yet for some reason, the characters are still on. We decide to just manually shut them off to work on them instead. So we walk to the stage, reach up to turn off Spring Freddy, only to get that Soulja Boy cranked on us and get knocked the fuck out by a guy who I can only assume to be the guy we heard on the phone. We come back to playing as Thomas again, and are tasked with obviously finding a way to get the exit door unlocked. We find a key to the bathroom on the office shelf and head down the hall to go inside. Inside of the bathroom, we find a hammer that we hope we can use to break the lock on the exit door. However, as we exit the bathroom, we see the non-attractive, fat-ass version of Chica heading in our direction, so we quickly jump inside of one of the stalls to hide. We hold our breath as Chica passes by and quickly run out to the exit door. We break the handle to the door and open it, seeing the final exit door. We don't get far before Foxy jumps out at us for some fucking reason. This door was locked? Why the hell was Foxy on the other side of it? Oh well, what the fuck ever. It's a little bit more important right now that we run away from the murder robot behind us. We run back to the employee room and hide behind a shelf. Foxy walks inside, but before he can find us, he hears a noise coming from the door inside of the room. Opening it, he finds who I can only assume to be Richard and jumps him like he's in Detroit. We take this chance to book it back to the exit. As we run, we hear Richard getting torn apart, screaming. We get to the door just in time, and Jesus fucking Christ, the door is gone? What the fuck? Let's ignore the fact that this doesn't make sense, because I don't think I need to explain to you why a door disappearing doesn't make sense. We turn around to see a certain large twitching bear. He just screams in our face and disappears, clearly being a hallucination. We figure there's no better time than the present to find another exit. As we walk into the main party room, so does Spring Bonnie. And now's the time where I can talk about how he works. Spring Bonnie is as basic as it gets when it comes to a survival horror character. He patrols around the building, and if you get too close to him in his line of sight, he'll start chasing you, and he won't stop chasing you until he kills you. And there's also no chance you're going to outrun him. The only way to get him to stop chasing you without dying is to lure him to the side of the office with a door and close it. But you also really have to be careful with how you close this door, because it doesn't work how any normal FNAF door would. It only stays closed for about 2 seconds, so make sure you time this properly. Nope. Oh, I closed it. I fucking closed it. I fucking closed it. I fucking closed it. I'm dead. I'm dead as shit. If you do, Spring Bonnie should be teleported to a different room in the building. We maneuver our way around Spring Bonnie and eventually make it to the other exit of the building, only to find that the door is missing too. Isn't life just so awesome sometimes? It's at this moment we hear Richard scream, which confuses me because I thought Richard just got killed by Foxy. So if who we heard just now was Richard, then who did Foxy just kill? It couldn't have been Chris because we saw Chris get killed by the fucker in the vents. It also couldn't be Ashley because it was 100% the scream of a man. And it can't be the engineer because he entered the building in that cutscene 26 or more years ago. This is not important at all, so let's actually continue talking about what's happening, shall we? We head back to the office where we heard the scream, only to find nobody there. We figure for some reason we should go back to the employee room. Why? Ask Shitlips Thomas, because I can't figure out a good reason to go back there, but apparently he's the FNAF expert and not me. Before we can continue, we get another engineer cutscene. We're dragged into a back room and we overhear 2 people talking. Well, really only one person talking, because the other guy has his voice changer on so deep thinking it'll make the e-girls wet, so I really can't even hear him.
Why didn't you just kill him? Really? Dave, you know exactly what happened before.
The voice I can hear sounds suspiciously like the guy on the phone who called us here at 5 in the fucking morning. He tells voice changer guy that he should just kill us so we don't get away like the other engineer and spread the word about what they're doing. After not doing it, the phone guy decides to just do it himself, so he enters the room and stabs us to death. Fantastic. I really shouldn't have lived in Chicago. Everyone in Chicago gets stabbed. Going back to the employee room, we find the corpse of a police officer. Seeing that his radio had been taken, we now know that whoever is behind this really knows what they're doing. But we figure that because a police officer went missing, that other officers will be arriving at some point to look for him. So knowing all we have to do is survive, this game's most agonizing survival section finally begins. And I get to explain what all of the characters do in grueling detail, because they're all laid on us at the exact same time, and we're just supposed to remember what they all do from the 2-minute phone call we got 15 minutes ago. Hooray. Alright, well, the goal is easy. Just survive until 6 AM without getting found by any of the animatronics. Sounds simple enough. All we have to do is track all of their movements and learn their patterns, and then find a spot in the massive 3D environment where none of the characters ever have a line of sight to, right? Almost, but not really, because one main character. Bonnie. Bonnie is this game's way of preventing you from doing exactly that. On certain time intervals, Bonnie will emerge from the room where the puppet is. Yes, by the way, the puppet is in this game. Don't think too much about it. There are a lot of characters from a lot of different FNAF time periods in this game, so just shut up. Anyways, Bonnie will exit this room and make his way to the employee room to turn the puppet control lever on. Once it's on, the puppet will begin moving on a track across the ceiling that leads to a door which has some chains on it. Why are there chains on this door? Well, it's to hold back and stop the big bastard himself, Fredbear. If the puppet makes it all the way to this door, it will break it down and allow Fredbear to come out. And spoiler alert, Fredbear always knows where you are, and if he gets out, you will 100% die, because as mentioned earlier, he doesn't care about the doors, and he is faster than you are. So, all you have to do to prevent this from happening is go into the employee room and turn off the puppet control lever whenever Bonnie turns it on. This leads to you needing to be moving around pretty consistently throughout this night. Why do that when you could just hide right outside of this room, or maybe even inside of it? Well, that's where Spring Bonnie comes back in. Spring Bonnie, and in fact every character during this section, has a very specific movement pattern that they will walk in. And thank God they do, because memorizing these patterns is the only reason I ever completed this section. Spring Bonnie has the habit of walking into literally every single room in the building, and his line of sight is really large, so you will have to always maneuver around him. Also, if that wasn't awesome enough, with every hour that passes during this section, each animatronic will become more and more agile, which really just means their line of sight increases. Chica is the next character I want to quickly mention, and she is pretty boring as a character. She's just Spring Bonnie, except her path doesn't cover as much ground as his does. Her line of sight also appears to be a lot smaller than his, so that's good news, I suppose. She does go through the main party room a bit during her cycle, and that will become important later when I go over my amazing strategy. Let's cover Freddy next, as he will probably cause you the least amount of issues out of every character in this game. Freddy will randomly spawn in random rooms, typically next to the doorways. All you have to do is not walk directly into him. He won't chase you, but if you get too close, he'll instantly kill you. So really just make sure you're watching where you're going. Mangle isn't that terrible either. Side note, I know its name in the game isn't actually Mangle, but fuck you. It looks just like her, and it crawls through the fucking vents like Mangle, so I'm calling it Mangle. Mangle is also the one that killed Chris in that cutscene earlier too, by the way. Mangle is also incredibly easy to deal with. On the floors and ceilings of certain rooms, there will be large vents. Occasionally, you may notice wires coming out from those vents. That means that Mangle is waiting there, and if you walk by, she'll snatch you up. So once again, just like Freddy, open your eyes and you'll be just fine. Foxy is the only real problem during this night, as he's a random character with no pathing, and is also super easy to forget about. Foxy has the chance to be hiding behind any doorway at any time. The only way to tell if he's there is by standing next to the doorway and listening for quiet breathing. For some reason, you can't just move to one side of the door and check if he's standing there, since you literally can't see him even if he is there, which is something I died to in my playthrough, and you can see that over on my second channel, Dexter Black. That's really all of the problems to worry about during this night, but Bonnie is obviously the most dangerous. So, how should you go about pulling this off? Well, when this game first came out, there was a super awesome glitch you could use to cheese this entire section. If you remember where we hid from Foxy during a cutscene, you used to be able to hide in the exact same spot, and both Bonnie and Spring Bonnie, aka the only characters that enter the employee room, wouldn't be able to see you hiding there. And since it's in the employee room, it was right next to the puppet control switch, so you could beat the entire section just by standing in one spot. Unfortunately for me, I didn't get the luxury of being able to do that, as in the newer version of this game, during this section only, an invisible wall is placed there to block your path. So I had to play the legitimate way. This is when I started to develop my strategy. I'm gonna be so real with you, it took me about 45 minutes to complete this section. I am complete ass at these types of games, which is why I never play them. I personally really dislike the mechanic of every enemy is patrolling randomly and will chase you when seen, but you also have a bunch of bullshit to do at the same time. I know it's a common mechanic, but it's just never something I was able to get into, mainly because I don't take being chased very well at all, so it just kind of gives me a lot of anxiety. Here's how this section can be beaten 100% of the time for anyone who struggles with things like this, like I do. I came up with this myself. I'm super proud of myself. I did no walkthrough because I'm the best. The first step is to run out of the employee room as fast as you can and get to the far corner of the main party room to the left of the main stage. You have to be fast because Spring Bonnie will enter this room quickly after. While in this corner, both Spring Bonnie and Bonnie will never be able to see you, which is huge since this location also gives you an easy view of both of them since they enter through the door on your left. Once in this corner, Spring Bonnie will soon pass by. After a while, Bonnie will enter the room. Bonnie is slow as shit, so this will take a while. But once you see him, you can start following him. Bonnie doesn't care so much about killing you as he does flipping the puppet switch, so you can actually get pretty close behind him. Creep, 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 creep. That's the sound I make. Creep, creep, creep. You gotta match your steps with his, bro. Boom, 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 boom. All good. But obviously, if you get too close, he'll still kill you. Once Bonnie leaves the main party room to enter the hallway, Spring Bonnie should be up near the office, so you don't have to worry about him. Take the time it takes for Bonnie to enter the employee room and flip the switch to stand by the doorway to listen for Foxy. Once Bonnie flips the switch, quickly enter the employee room and turn it off. After Bonnie flips the switch, he will exit the room through a door you can't even open, so you don't have to worry about him turning around. After flipping the switch, you want to run back to the main party room. At this point, Chica should be inside. She will walk around the tables and exit the room through the door that both Bonnies enter through. Simply be slow and follow her. Once she leaves the room, go back into the far left corner again. This is now going to begin the second cycle. This time, since the paths that Bonnie and Spring Bonnie take are much different in length, they will be a lot closer together. Bonnie will enter the room first this time, with Spring Bonnie directly behind him. Once Spring Bonnie goes up and around the tables, you can start slowly following Bonnie. At this point, you'll have to be patient, since Spring Bonnie will enter the entrance room, then travel back into the party room, and then go into the hall to the employee room. Then we'll travel to the office. So you will hear Bonnie flip the switch, and you will have to wait probably 30 to 45 seconds before you can switch it back, because if you're too fast, Spring Bonnie will see you. If you sneak past him while he's in the entrance room, it appears that Foxy will always be behind the door to the hallway and you will die. So it's your best bet to just wait for Spring Bonnie to finish this cycle and start walking to the office. I recommend waiting directly in front of the stage during this section since he won't be able to see you. Once he goes down the hall, quickly run into the employee room and flip the switch. Then quickly run back into the party room and go right into the exit doorway. Chica will be entering the party room at this point, and if you're any closer to the stage, she will see you. Once she walks around the tables, once again, you can follow her out and go back to the hiding spot in the far left corner. Now, the third cycle gets a little bit scary, so be ready. Bonnie will soon enter the room again, with Spring Bonnie fairly close behind. However, there is enough room between Bonnie and Spring Bonnie for you to be able to get in between them. Closely follow behind Bonnie and Spring Bonnie will enter the party room. Continue to follow Bonnie into the employee room and shut the switch off immediately after Bonnie turns it on. Immediately run back to the entrance of the party room. At this point, Spring Bonnie should be walking into the exit room. You can take this small window of time to run to the front of the stage. Spring Bonnie will enter the hallway, and once he does, you're safe to go back to the exit doorway. Since Spring Bonnie is near the office, you don't need to go back to the corner. In fact, you actually shouldn't, because Chica will follow behind Bonnie. Bonnie will once again pass you, and you can once again follow him into the employee room and shut the switch. After flipping this switch, this final time, you're home free. Simply sit in the employee room and this nightmare of a section will come to an end. And the best part is, since the movement of almost all of the characters is scripted, you'll be able to use this method to beat this section of the game every single time without fail. I hope you enjoyed this overtly long explanation section. It's easily what took me the longest to do while playing this game, so I figured I should devote a long time in the script talking about it. Let me know what you think. After beating this section, we get a cutscene where we're running down the hallway, being chased by Spring Bonnie. We get into the office and close the door on him, which literally cuts the fucker in half. I love this. This is peak. Absolute cinema. As we turn around, Foxy charges at us, but luckily, the animatronic power gets shut off and Foxy shuts down right in front of us. Walking down the broken doors hallway, we see a deactivated Freddy, and Chica tries to kill us, only to get powered off at the same time, which actually scared me in my playthrough, which you can find on my second channel, Dexter Black. We continue to explore the now eerily quiet building. Going back to the exit, we fall to our knees, only for a door to appear in front of us, locked by a code. A voice comes over the intercoms that sounds weirdly like the guy that killed the engineer in a previous cutscene. He tells us that he's impressed by our work and that the animatronics we faced thus far will be deactivated for the remainder of our stay, aside from two, who he calls his favorites. It's now up to us to figure out the code. We find a piece of paper on the wall that says "Find me." Not totally sure what the hell that means. We wander around into the puppet room where we find writing on the wall saying "It's me." Next to this message, we find another piece of paper saying "My back is to the corner." After reading this note, the two threats of this section activate. Fredbear, and Mangle. Again, Mangle acts a bit differently, so let's talk about her first. This time, she's no longer in the vents. She's walking around the building. If she sees you, she'll roar like a dinosaur. And if you don't get out of her line of sight in 4 seconds, she'll start chasing you. And she won't stop until she catches you. So just like, run, I guess, bozo. Fredbear, on the other hand, should be scary. But because of an item we got at the beginning of this segment, he really isn't. At the start of this section, we're given a taser. Fredbear will always know where you are and will constantly be crip walking towards you. Except, Fredbear while walking is very slow, so you can easily stay away from him. Every once in a while, he will also roar for some reason, and will then begin to charge at you. While he's charging, he will be faster than you, but when he gets close, use your taser to stun him and he'll go back to walking. So avoiding the threats on this segment is honestly a cakewalk compared to what we had to deal with during the last section. Now, I had a stroke trying to figure out what my back is to the corner meant. What you have to do is find Freddy, since his back is to the corner of the wall. Except not really, because his back is just to the wall, not really the corner. Regardless, on his back is another note stating camera 2. I've neglected to mention the cameras thus far, but that's because they're literally completely useless for the most part. Throughout the building, there are several monitor stands where you can place your monitor, because I guess you can't just hold a fucking iPad with your hands. You instead need a holder like a toddler who blares annoying ass YouTube videos while in a public restaurant, and the parents just find nothing wrong with that since they'd rather have the internet raise them instead of them. Anyways, when you place the monitor down, you can look at the cameras. Big whoop. Using your eyes is better in a game like this because you can walk around freely. Regardless, looking at camera 2 now, we find another message saying, I'm here. Going to the location of camera 2, you'll find another note saying, look up. On the ceiling, you'll find the number 7 and yet another note reading inside my head. What this means, if you weren't a genius like me, is that you have to go to Foxy in the office and look in his mouth. Inside, you'll find the number 3 and another note reading behind a curtain. Now, there are 3 curtains in this building, and you have to look at each of them in a specific order, which is dumb because all you're doing is looking behind them. Behind the last curtain, you'll see the number 7, and then some text reading the safest place will start flashing on your screen. Let's pause. I really don't understand why it wasn't just another note. This is supposed to be like an escape room set up by the guy that locked us in here. How the fuck was he able to make us hallucinate a phrase? I don't know. Let's move on. The safest place refers to the office. Going back to the office, we find another note reading the second digit. Obviously, the second digit is the number 3, as it's the second digit we found on this little scavenger hunt. Finally, going back to the exit door, we can type in the code 6373. Fun fact, by the way, you can actually just type in this code at the start of this section if you don't want to go through all the bullshit I just explained, because there's no check here to see if you have or not. But after punching in the code, the door disappears. Opening another door that it was covering leads to another room with no fucking door. Falling to our knees again, all of a sudden the door reappears for some reason, and a bunch of police officers barge in past us, and we're taken out of the building to safety. After being rescued, we're shown a cutscene where Thomas is either being interviewed by police or is in a therapy session. I can't quite tell which one is correct. He freaks out about his friends being killed and then realizes he never heard anything from Ashley. No screams, no body found, nothing. This makes him tweak like when I'm in line at the grocery store and some 40-year-old mom pulls out her own grocery bags to save the environment. You want to know what I do when I see someone using their own bags in the grocery store? When it's my turn in line, I tell the bagger, hey, all my shit, double bag it. Anyways, after this cutscene, we're thrown into the credits. But that's not where this game comes to an end. We actually get a post-credit scene like it's a Marvel movie, where Thomas is in his room. He wakes up in the middle of the night and looks out his window, only to see the silhouette of an animatronic we never saw in the pizzeria staring back at him. And finally, Fredbear and Friends Reboot comes to a close. Overall, I think this game was a super enjoyable experience. Did I get overtly frustrated and almost give up while playing the survival section? Yes, but I beat it, and I'm glad I did. The story to this game is simple and nice. There's no retarded digging that we have to do to learn the simplest things like a fucking name of a character, Scott, asshole. We're instead just given a story the way it should be given. A few mysteries here and there, but nothing so overtly frustrating that it makes it not fun to figure out. The game looks gorgeous, it plays well when you understand what you're doing, and overall I would highly recommend you give it a go. Obviously, from the teaser we saw at the end of the game, a second game was clearly in the works. But with no updates for several years, and it being confirmed that at some point the game's development was put on halt, and given the fact that this game came out 7 years ago, I don't think it's very likely we'll see Chapter 2 anytime soon. But hey, only time will tell. But let me know what you think. Do you agree with me, or do you think this game was actually doo-doo ass rank? Let me know in the comments below. In my next Week at Freddy's video, I asked you guys what FNAF game you guys thought doesn't get enough recognition, and my favorite answer is this one by Seal Bonk. They said the Dormitibus remake, and I agree. I think that title has been dragged through the mud for obvious reasons, and I don't think a lot of people know that a remake even came out. Definitely go check it out if you haven't. The question of this video is, what is your least favorite mechanic from an official FNAF game and why? With the question of the video being asked, subscribe to the channel, I'd appreciate it a lot. Grab some merch if you like having drip. I've been Dexter, and I'll see you all in the next video. See ya!